Hello and welcome back to the Angry Dave podcast. I am Dave. My next guest is my buddy. I guess we've known each other for about 19 years. I was doing the math today. John Slinka.
Hello.
Hello, John.
I'm glad you did the math because I can't even remember how long it's been now.
Yeah, it's 18 or 19 years, something like that. We met each other through baseball. You came on a team. I was playing for the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
You were a free agent pickup.
That's right.
And we met each other at the first practice, and we've been pretty close ever since.
Do you remember meeting me that day?
I do remember the story. You want to tell the story?
No, you can. But I know I met you at Palladium because you weren't at the practice, and then you walked in a purple suit. Were you wearing?
I definitely wasn't wearing a purple suit.
It was definitely blue. It was definitely a blue.
Was it like it was bright? Was it a bright suit?
I think so.
Yeah, I didn't have many of those, but probably like a electric blue, maybe a little.
Yeah, you were definitely in a suit.
Yeah, I was definitely in a suit.
You told me that day.
I did tell you one thing that we probably don't want to share because it'll hurt people's feelings.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
No, let's not hurt anybody's feelings.
I'll hurt your feelings.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We can hurt each other's feelings.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, let's move on. So, before we get to you and your story, you have any Angry Dave stories you want to tell people?
We're going to go off the bat with the Angry Dave story. All right, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Tell me your least favorite movie and why do you hate No Country for Old Men?
Oh, God.
Tell me a little bit about what you think of that movie.
So, John and I went to go see No Country for Old Men one time, and it was a very good movie. But
I would hope so. It won an Academy Award.
It was a very good movie.
I think for Best Picture.
And we walked out of the movie, and I was very angry because it was very artsy at the end, and there was no ending really.
It ended on a monologue.
It ended on a monologue.
It had an ending. The guy, I think, what was the bad guy? Which was I think he's one of the best bad people.
Yeah.
In all movies, like he does it so well. And going back and watching, I actually appreciate the movie more.
But there was no resolution. Right? There was no resolution.
It was the monologue that went right up your ass.
Yeah, because it said nothing.
Okay.
It said a bunch of nothing. Yes, I was.
I thought I was gonna die. Because you got in the car and you drove angry. You left the movie theater, and I couldn't understand. You were just motherfucking your whole way home. I was like, why are you so angry right now? What's going on here?
Over a fucking movie.
Over a movie. Yeah, that's one. Excuse me. The other one would be the time that we were on the baseball field,
mm-hmm.
and a ball was smoked up the middle, and naturally I assumed it was going to go through for a hit, so I start setting up because there was a man on second. I start setting up for the cut. You make a nice diving play, come up and fire to the ghost that was no longer near first base, and you throw the ball. You let it loose, and there's no one there, so that was bad. And then you started screaming at the top of your lungs at me. And I'm pretty sure you said, "Where the fuck were you?" And you just kept repeating that. The first one, I was like, "Okay, he got me. I should have been there or whatever." The second one, I'm like, "Okay, he's going a little bit far now." By the 15th, "Where the fuck are you?" Now I'm starting to get mad.
Yeah. Well, the real reason everybody that play baseball with me knows that when I think about throwing the ball, I sometimes throw hand grenades, but I threw a fucking strike, an absolute strike. I mean, it was a 65-mile-an-hour strike. Let's not
to no one,
to no one, but let's not kid anybody. I don't have a good arm, but it was a strike.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was mostly made me mad is I made a nice play, which I've made nice plays before, but I threw a fucking strike and you weren't there to catch a goddamn strike. You caught plenty of my hand grenades over the years, but
well, and then you come off after you just humiliate me.
I did. I'm sorry.
And no, it's all good. And then we start to jog off the field together, and you turn to say something to me, and I just picked up the pace because I didn't want to talk to you at that moment.
I remember that.
And you got mad. Then you get mad.
Oh, now you don't want to talk to me?
Yeah, you got really mad. And then we're in the dugout, and we had to be separated because there was about 5 or 6 people between us. And at this point, now I'm pissed. I'm like, I said some choice words, I think, and you were mad. I was mad. You were mad that I showed you up by running ahead of you because I was like, I'm not fucking talking to you right now. And my favorite part was the skipper says, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who was in the wrong there." I'm like, "You don't know who was in the fucking wrong there?" I couldn't believe it. I was like, was it the guy who said, "Where the fuck are you?" 15 times on the
Nah,
baseball
it
field?
wasn't 15. It probably was 7 or 8.
All right.
It was probably 7 or 8.
Yeah,
But
you lost your mind,
I
and
did I did lose my mind. I'm sorry.
that's all good.
I'm sorry. And the skipper of the team is Stevie Iraq from this podcast, and Steve was very diplomatic in those days.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's putting it mildly.
we once had a roid raged shortstop on our team was a fucking banana human being, and he really wouldn't throw him off the team. It was
Remember that?
remember that.
Hmm.
And then we had another guy, another guy that was clearly doing crack.
Wait, the one who brought a prostitute to your kid's birthday party?
Yeah, that
That one?
happened. That
Okay.
happened. Yeah, and he had a hard time throwing him off the team too.
Brought a prostitute to your kids. It was like your kid's second.
I mean, I don't know if the lady was a prostitute, but she certainly was a crack addict.
Okay.
I mean, it was bad. There was like, they were Jones. It was bad.
Okay. I thought she was.
She probably was, but at the very least, she was on something.
She was on something for
Yeah,
sure.
he was a very nice human being.
He was. I felt bad for him.
But he
He,
got caught up in the crack. And Steve still couldn't throw him off the team.
we should make a list of guys Steve couldn't throw off the team.
Oh
There
God.
was the EFIS pitcher.
Oh God, this dude showed up to practice, and he told us that he was a New Jersey State championship pitcher
Oh,
in
dude.
high school, and he threw the ball 32 miles an hour.
And it was like high arc softball that he was throwing. And man, he talked the game.
My dad was still alive. I walked up to the practice, and my dad's standing behind the guy, and I can see my dad, and he's
In his head.
shaking his head as hard as he could that we couldn't keep this guy on the team. And he's like, I'm going to throw my curveball. My dad says to him, that wasn't your curveball. Uh, but
He's
the point of this story is Steve, he was like, should we keep him? No, Steve.
we keep him.
The kid,
Wow.
remember the kid bought a fucking his baseball pants. He bought a Twins jersey already.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he didn't even try out. Yeah.
No, he bought all the gear, and then we watched him once and was like, he's a danger to himself, to us. I mean, that guy was, I've never seen anything so bad in my life.
Yeah, I guess he thought that he was going to show up and fake it. I don't.
It's not a sport I don't know if there is a sport you can do that with, but certainly not baseball. That's for sure. I mean, I don't know. Is there a sport that you can never play your entire life and then just say at 30 something years old, you're going to pick it up?
Running,
Maybe.
running forward. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, enough about Angry Dave for now. So tell us about you. You were born in what? What year?
77. I didn't
And
know we were going to start off with the hard questions, but yeah, 77.
1977. Were you born in Philadelphia?
Yes.
What part of Philadelphia?
And I spent most of my childhood in Tacony, a neighborhood that started off decent and then went downhill fast.
And
Really
any
fast.
brothers and sisters you have?
Two older siblings, two sisters, 3 years and 6 years older than me.
Gotcha. Talk to me about growing up at that time, like your early childhood. What was it like?
Early child. Well, it was difficult. There was it was very difficult. I love the age that we grew up in because it was just out of your house. You were out of your house all the time. We had a parking lot that was not quite across I guess adjacent to my childhood home. And that parking lot was the place where everyone went and met up and played manhunt, wall ball, all kinds of anything that was going on in that parking lot.
Yeah.
And we all kind of converged there. It's just something was always going on. So that was fun. That was the cool part of just not being in the house ever.
Yeah.
That's something my kids do, and I'm proud of that. Like,
Yeah.
they are not in the house
That's
today.
awesome.
They spent 6 hours outside.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then today they had off of school today.
Hmm.
And so tell me what you said it was difficult. What was the difficult part?
All right, let's go to about third or fourth grade.
Yep.
My parents, they were probably the two people who should just never have married. Basically,
Yeah.
you got my mom from a town in Texas that was about a population of maybe 900.
Yeah.
like literally 900 to 1,000 people where she grew up. She grew up on a giant 10-acre like property, small house, but giant. You know, there was no neighbors,
Right.
no neighbors whatsoever, and her and her four, siblings, and it was just them. She meets my dad, who was in the Air Force. I guess he was stationed in Abilene, so that's where they would have met.
Yeah.
And guy from a big city.
Yeah.
They meet, they get married, and she picks up and moves to Philadelphia from the
Like,
middle of nowhere.
yeah. Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, can you? I can't picture a much bigger recipe for disaster
Yeah.
than coming up in such a small little town and then just being thrown into the city.
Yeah.
So it just made it. I'm sure there were complications
Yeah.
based a lot of based on that.
Did they get separated? When did they get separated?
They got separated. I think I was in seventh grade by
Okay.
the time they separated, and it was just my mom just picked up and left one day.
Yeah.
I think my sisters knew about it, but I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So one day she just took me for a drive to Kmart at the time, and she said, "Hey, I have to leave your dad. We're going tonight, and you can choose whether you come with me or you stay, and I come back for you tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do here."
Yeah.
So it was like,
Tough.
um,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'll go," and that's what I did. She said, "Okay, go home, pack up whatever you want," and then um, here I am. I packed up in trash bags.
Did your dad know you were leaving, or did you guys like leave?
No idea,
Oh wow.
no idea. She just moved us out one day.
Yeah. What were
Um,
you? Yeah. Again, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, you have to understand that the environment we were living in, the way we were living, it wasn't a good atmosphere. It wasn't a place where it wasn't good for anybody.
Yeah.
So, to her credit, she was trying to take us, sorry about that. She was trying to move us, to a better
Situation.
situation.
Yeah.
She put, I guess, the blame on him and kind of thought that moving us out of that situation would give us, I guess that's what it came down to.
Right. Yeah. And then, so what were you like in that middle school period? What was John like?
Awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward, angry, depressed. I
Yeah.
wasn't in middle school. I wasn't. I was really in my own head. I just because so much was going on at home that I was going to school kind of wearing the same shit every day,
Yeah.
and it turned into from first, second, and third grade having friends to like around fourth or fifth grade. It's like starting to get picked on, getting bullied,
Yeah.
and it made it tough because it would be things like just starting to get needled a lot.
Yeah.
And I couldn't deal with that because there was nothing I could do to change it.
Yeah. Right.
Um, I couldn't buy new clothes. I couldn't put myself in a place where I could succeed at that point.
Yeah.
By sixth grade, I don't know if you know this or not, but by sixth grade, I kind of decided that I was no longer going to go to school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I decided that I was like, my sister introduced me to skipping school. So my sisters at that point, the one that was 3 years older was in ninth grade.
Yep.
So it was ninth grade and then 12th grade, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're all 3 years apart. The one who was in 12th grade, she had already dropped out.
Yeah.
The one in ninth grade, she just was missing school. She was headed towards dropping out too. So she introduces me. She says, let's just take the day off. It's no big deal. I was like, wait, we can do this?
Right.
So we go upstairs and there's a little tiny TV in the bedroom and we just watched TV and waited for my dad to go to work. And then all of a sudden we just had the house to ourselves and it was great.
Yeah.
What she didn't know was I was at that point probably never going to go back. I was like,
Yeah.
this is great. I'm not going back. Why would I go back?
Yeah. It was just miserable there for you.
Yeah, it was just a bad time. And I was like, you know what? I don't need this. So, and maybe it was a little bit of a check, you know, I kind of say to my parents, like, hey, get your shit together.
Yeah.
I missed 90 days
Wow.
in
Did they
sixth grade.
did they fail you, and they let you go through?
No, they failed me. The truancy officer showed up to the door. I answered the door, and he had a whole list of days that I was absent.
Yeah.
And I just sat there straight faced. I was like, oh, yeah, I was sick that day, had a headache that day, stomach ache. I just started rattling off excuses.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude was just like, okay, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Um, but it was amazing that, like, how did the school not intervene in some way? How did
Right.
they? I mean,
They didn't say anything until the truancy officer got you.
nothing. They never said anything.
Wow.
The next year, I finally, I started to get it together and had a lot of at that point, had a lot of interventions, a lot of people pulling me aside saying you can't just quit.
Right.
Um, there were a lot of people kind of talking me through it and saying you got to go back. Now, what can we do to get you back?
Right.
And then we were negotiating. Now we're at the table.
And that's why people at school and stuff that intervening or
No, at that point it was like my parents,
yeah,
friends of my parents.
gotcha.
My mom was asking like her boss, who was like a really like great person, like how can we get him engaged again?
Yeah.
So it was, I guess they didn't realize how bad it was for me, where I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. Didn't want to socially mostly, right? Is just awful there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of that. I got picked on a lot because my mom was like a super pacifist and would not let me defend myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, so being a mama's boy, I was reluctant to ever hit back.
Yeah.
So I was constantly just getting my ass beat.
And you were never a small kid, right? You were always one of the bigger
I mean,
kids.
I was always tall and, I was always skinny, but never small. I was always tall. And,
Yeah.
um, so, I would come home, my nose all bloody. My dad would be like, Why is your nose bloody?" I said, "Well, I got jumped or I got beat up." And he's like, "Well, did you defend yourself?" I was like, "No, mom says I can't hit back." And he's like, "What the heck? What are you talking about? You can't hit back.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just let these kids annihilate you. Like, you got to hit back."
Yeah.
Um, and then one day I lost my mind. I mean, I went like bananas on some kids. Uh, these little kids jumped me. There was like 5 of them, and I couldn't this is when I decided I was no longer gonna take it, but I couldn't fight back because the brothers were, like, right there,
Right.
and if I fight back, I know I'm getting jumped by 10 kids instead of 5.
Right.
So, I waited, and then after everything was all done, I didn't really get beat up that bad, it's just
Yeah.
it was just, like, getting jumped kind of, and then, I found the one kid by himself. I threw him up against the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, Anything you want to say now?" And he was like, "No." I just punched him as hard as I could right in his stomach. Let him go home like that.
Yeah. What did it get better like towards seventh and eighth grade at all?
Yeah, it did. It did. We moved out and it got a lot better. It was like a do-over.
Yeah.
Um, to some extent. To some extent. There was a stigma that I couldn't escape, and that was even in high school. And I still remember this to this day. When I think of my first day of high school, and there was an assembly and everything. And I overheard a girl in front of me just dog me to the person next to her.
Yeah.
"Hey, do you remember that kid who said some like mean stuff?" And I was like, "Oh my God, like this sucks."
Yeah.
Um, but eventually, by somewhere in ninth grade to 10th grade, I like crossed over. I made it where I was no longer being brought down from
From
those
the
years.
from those years. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then what was it like in high school?
High school was good. I went to a not a good high school, but high school was fine because playing baseball and I guess I didn't take grades seriously at any point in my life.
Right.
The only reason I made grades was to be able to play ball. That
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
That's all I did. It was like, what can I do? What's the minimum I could do to make sure that I'm eligible to play?
Right.
So that's what I did. And then one time I'm sitting in a history class, and this girl sitting to my right. I don't know, I got like an 83 on a test or something that I didn't study for, obviously. And she just like got like a 95 or whatever and was just looked at me and was like, "I can't believe like that test was easy." Or, how did you do so bad on it? Just started like kind of trash talking me. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stick it up.
Yeah. Everybody's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be the you know, I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where I can just be kind of fucked up like that.
Yeah. And then did you do better in like what 11th and 12th grade, or did
I
you
don't
just?
know if I ever actually did better.
Yeah.
I did enough to get by.
Yep.
I mean, I never did homework.
Yeah.
I did enough to get by. I got by. I mean, at Lincoln High School, I graduated with like a 2.6.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's, you know,
I hear you. Yeah. I mean, for anybody who's listening, you got two guys here that graduated high school because they got to play sports.
hmm
So those extracurricular activities matter for people.
For people who are in, I'll say they matter to the most. I mean, for people like how I was coming up,
Yeah.
you know, there was no question in my mind that I gravitated towards baseball as a way out of something.
Right.
I happened to be decent at it, so I was like, okay, you have those dreams of playing professionally and stuff, but at least I was decent enough to think I could at least chase that. And what that did was make me. It gave me something to strive for, to stay checked in.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a really, really it was something I needed, and without it, I have no idea. I mean, I probably don't even graduate high school without baseball.
Yeah.
Honestly, but that's also, I think, the kid who's dirt poor out there, that's struggling to get by. You know, you can see how that kid needs something to keep him or her
Yeah. And to feel
afloat.
engaged, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That engagement's a really important. Any way that you can get a kid engaged in education is
Yeah,
a good way.
right, right. And growing up in the city, as you know, I mean, we had what were our options? You could play basketball, baseball, like
Football.
football. I mean, there weren't,
Yeah.
you
That's
know,
it. Really. I mean, it was
basically
3 sports, and then there was a little bit of hockey, but not really.
hockey wasn't. I mean, the expense of hockey, I think,
Yeah.
made
There
that.
was definitely not soccer.
Mm,
You and I were talking about this today before the podcast, but like our kids are into like, martial arts.
yep.
There wasn't wrestling or judo or jiu-jitsu around. None of that stuff was around.
No.
Um,
What's interesting, when you speak about these other sports that
yeah,
we didn't have any accessibility to, but what I find interesting about those sports now, and I kind of thought about this recently when the lady from Full House, it's so stupid, but the lady who got into all that trouble,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then a bunch of the other ones that act like they were getting their kids into these
Great schools.
yeah, college,
Yeah,
great colleges, USC and all this stuff, because they were faking that they were being recruited for these
strange sports like all.
niche sports.
Yeah,
And I was like, what's interesting about that is I didn't realize this at the time, is because I applied to like 30 baseball schools, still thinking that Wichita State was going to reach out to the kid from Abraham Lincoln High School. But every single one of them, I mean, I put together this amazing package of just like, I put a binder together, and had all this cool stuff in it, and just about how what my aspirations for playing the game and stuff. And every single school replied to me and said, "We welcome you to walk on."
right.
Um, except Lehigh replied to me and said, "We're going to consider you for our university." Then they sent another letter after they researched my grades and said, "Hey, we're no longer able to consider you for for our esteemed university."
Yeah,
But what I didn't know was that letter to walk on,
yeah,
had I had the money or capacity to go there, I would have probably gotten into those schools,
right.
because the coach, if they reach out to you to walk on, could have probably put you on a list to get in. I had no
Right.
idea.
Yeah,
Something I had no idea existed.
yeah, right.
Um, but I would push kids towards, I mean, not push them, but first of all, just let them do their thing, man. That's
Yeah, we'll let them do their thing. Yeah, we'll get more into
absolutely.
it. So,
Yeah.
what were you like in high school? Or did you start to?
I got popular in high school.
Yeah,
It started in, I think, 10th grade was when I finally, like, um I still remember I was sitting across from this really popular girl in the class, and she asked if I would sit like near her, and invited me to sit in the lunch that in their part of the lunchroom.
yeah,
And I was just like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh my God, like, is this, I'm actually gonna sit over there now. Like, it was pretty neat. So that got me into that group,
yeah,
and it just happened overnight. I was lucky that, being pretty good, being decent, of a ball player. I used to mash back then, so like I would hit a home run and my name would be called over to the announcements and stuff.
yeah. That's cool.
It was neat. It was neat. But I was also like I would also purposely show up late to homeroom because I didn't want to hear my own name.
Oh, right. Yeah,
So I'd make sure I walked in about 10 minutes late
right,
after all those announcements.
right.
I don't know why, but I just had like, I just didn't want to sit there and hear my own name, and then it was very awkward
That's
for me.
funny. One of the cool memories I have. They never used to announce the baseball stuff over the loudspeaker, but I had the game-winning hit in the first playoff game that our school ever won,
Wow.
and they announced it when I was in 12th grade, and they announced it over the loudspeaker. It's still something I remember. It's still
Oh,
super awesome.
dude, I had my picture in the paper.
Yeah,
Oh, it was the greatest.
yeah,
It was I think I was a junior, and it was when Ted Solari was covering all the high school sports.
yep,
Someone was there and caught me diving headfirst in the second base, and really cool shot.
yeah.
And it was Eddie Bowman was playing shortstop
Yeah,
for.
that kid could play, man.
He was a player, and his brother Lovato Bowman
Yep,
played for Frankfurt.
yep,
Lovato Bowman was one of the best center fielders. I mean, amazing. But Eddie Bowman was a really, really good player.
yeah,
Um, and I just my picture was in the paper, man, and uh, dude, everyone I mean, it was so cool. Everyone came up to me after that.
yeah.
It was just really, really neat.
I
Talk
mean,
about being just on cloud nine.
yeah, it makes you think about how it must be to be like on a small town football team,
Oh yeah.
and how like popular you would be and how intoxicating that would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about what was home life in high school? What was that like?
Well, at that point, it was me, my sisters, and my mom living in an apartment,
Yeah.
and my dad was back at the house.
Okay.
It was fine. I mean, we moved a couple times. I guess the first apartment she could find, it was whatever was in her price range, and it wasn't not nothing great. Um, moved maybe two or three times until she finally settled into where she is now.
Yeah.
Um, it was there was nothing. It was good. There was I mean we My sisters went right to work basically,
Yeah.
so they had money. Um, and between what they were working and bringing in and what my mom had, I never at that point I had what I needed.
Right.
I went to work early too, from the time I was 14 or 15.
Yeah.
So now I'm 14 and 15 years old and I have cash in my pocket. So
Yeah.
that made things easy. I remember one time I was like, I'm gonna start looking nice, and I went to Wanamaker's, was it?
Yeah.
Whatever anchored the Roosevelt Mall at the time, and I don't know if it was a Wanamaker's or a Macy's. I think it was Macy's actually. And I went in there and I bought like the nicest khakis they had.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and yeah, I went to school and thought I looked good. I did. I guess I could. I guess I look good. That's when I got invited to, go sit with the cool
Oh
kids.
yeah. There's some nice khakis on.
Yeah, I threw the khakis on, man. It changed everything. And that's what I thought. I was like, what do I have to wear to like look like I have money?
Yeah. Right.
Khakis.
Yeah.
Khakis is the way. That's the way to go.
It's funny. And then what year did you graduate high school?
96.
96. You're two
Hmm.
years behind me. That makes more sense to me now because you lost a year, right? It did.
I did. Right.
All
Sixth
right.
grade. I
So I
repeated,
never understood that because we never played against each other.
which is weird because I thought we would have, but maybe that's because the gap between us was enough that
Yeah. Right.
um
You did you play freshman and sophomore year?
I played JV freshman.
Yeah, so then the only chance that we would have had to play would have been your sophomore year, and we didn't play you guys.
Right.
So that's
Right.
that makes a hell of a lot more sense now. Um, so all right, so then you graduate high school. What happens next?
What's interesting, let me take you back a little bit.
Yeah, take a step back.
All
Sure.
right. So around seventh grade, I'm gonna go way back. So around seventh or eighth grade, um, you have to understand that. So I feel like sixth grade was an abomination for me. I
Yeah.
repeat it, but I started to kind of like give it a little bit of effort at that point.
Right.
For some reason, I decided then I was going to go to college.
Okay.
No idea where that came from.
Yep.
Um, and nobody around me could understand it either
So
because they were like,
mom and dad both not college, right?
my dad went for a semester
Okay.
at Temple, found that, kind of did what I eventually did, which was kind of, found the party life a little bit. And then, because of the Vietnam and everything, he decided his grades were so bad that he was either going to get drafted
Yeah.
or he had to enlist.
Yeah.
And his dad said to him, "You better enlist because enlisted people are treated better.
Right.
So you're getting drafted. Your grades are shit."
Yeah.
So he went and enlisted in the Air Force. You know why he chose the Air Force? Because he heard they had the best food of the branches. I swear to God.
That sounds about right to me. That sounds
So,
like as good of a reason as any.
yep.
So
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
everyone looked at me like I was out of my mind because I had to choose. I guess I'm trying to think when I would have had to choose like what track to be on in high school.
Yeah.
Um,
8th grade, probably.
okay, it was probably eighth grade, and they're coming around, and you had to either choose remedial education or Temple Connection, it was called. And a Temple Connection meant you were going to take a little more advanced, classes, which I can't. They weren't really advanced, but
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what the remedial classes were like there. But in any event, because one thing about that high school was they would bring in 700 freshmen.
Wow.
700 freshmen every single year would show up to the school. It would go down to 400 sophomores,
Jesus Christ.
300 juniors, and you would graduate a class of about 200.
Really?
So I graduated with about 200, but think about being in the same class as there's 700 kids, 500 of which either don't want to be there
Yeah.
or they're just not going to be there. And it's like, it was a very volatile place to try and learn because you're in a classroom with a lot of people who don't give a shit about being there at all.
Yeah.
The turnover rate. Lincoln always had one of the highest rates of absenteeism.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
I contributed to that some. But so anyway, I chose Temple Connection, and I remember, but it's like, what do you mean Temple Connection? You think do you really think you're going to go to college? And I'm like, yeah, I think that's something I might do. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? You are like the least motivated
Right.
human being on earth. And so anyway, that's what I chose, and that helped me. That's also where so high school. We were talking about high school.
Yeah.
I was smart enough to get by, even though I was a little lazy.
Yeah.
Um, but there were certain teachers, when I got it, when it finally registered that that I could that was a little smarter than I thought. Like I wasn't this just idiot.
Right.
And then there were teachers saying things like, you know, just saying, yeah, you're going to go to college. Of course you're going to college. Like, of course you are. Like just making it like, why wouldn't you?
Right.
And just kind of
Yeah.
reinforcing it.
The
And
fact that you belong there.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
So that I mean, you don't think how much of an impact that can make on a kid.
Yeah.
A little tiny, hey, buddy, you can do it. It goes a long way, especially when you're just in your own head all the time.
Yeah. And you don't have any example around you either.
Mhm.
I mean, it really, I've talked about that before on this podcast too, just about teachers that have said little things to me that stuck with me for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Like a teacher in 12th grade that said that she actually believed in me.
I had a teacher say, he died. He died young. I don't know what he died from, but 20 years ago, I heard he passed away. But anyway, he was a young guy, and he was a history teacher. Awesome. What an awesome guy. And he, I think he said to me something like, "Oh, I never worried about you."
Yeah.
Like it was just a comment like, he made sure he ushered other people towards, and he was just like, I never really had to worry about you. I always knew you would figure it out. I was like, you did? Seriously?
Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Yeah. All right. So tell me about what happens after high school. What do you do?
So after high school, like our high school coaches were getting letters from different universities about their baseball program, and I find a letter from Marietta College in Ohio.
Yeah.
And for some reason, and Kenta Colby went there, and Terry Mulholland went there, and I'm like, wow, Division III school that's able to pump out a couple professional athletes, it must be a really good school.
Right.
Not only really good, they were like notoriously like the best Division III school in the country. Like the guy who coached it is like, has the most wins in Division III history.
Right.
Total asshole. Just a bad guy. But I go to Marietta College and I last a semester because I didn't make the baseball team.
Yeah.
It was what they did is, I mean, it was me and 10 other first basemen.
Yeah.
Everyone was there was like, holy shit, man. There, you look around, you're like, there's 10 first basemen, there's 10 second basemen, they're just going to take the best.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that wasn't it.
Yeah. There's no projects, right? You're not getting any leeway.
No, you want to hear a cool story though?
Yeah.
I kind of called my shot, believe it or not.
Oh yeah. Tell me about that. I
All
don't
right.
know.
So, I'm at Marietta. We're playing a fall league, which is how they're going to take, imagine they put together about 5 teams based on their recruitments, right?
Jesus. I mean, that's just bullshit.
Right?
Yeah.
5 teams. and you have the returning players and the freshmen all playing together.
Yeah.
Just imagine the numbers there.
Yeah.
I'm competing against Kent Colby's son.
Yeah.
Kent Colby basically built the stadium that I
Yeah.
was playing in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess he was getting a roster spot. Huh?
Yeah, I mean he could hit. He was a decent player, but yeah, no, he was
Yeah.
guaranteed a spot.
Yeah.
He was also kind of a anyway.
Yeah.
Um, what was I talking about? All right,
Oh, your
so
shot.
okay, so I'm there and I'm struggling, man. I mean, I'm hitting like 220. I am struggling for the first part of the season. I couldn't hit anything. Um, then I come up and I don't know where this came from. I come up, there's no outs, it's first and second. And the coach on third, not the head coach, the guy who was running our team,
Yeah.
calls me down to third base and he says, "Hey, do you think you can get a bunt down for me?" And I said, "I know I can get a bunt down for you, or I can drive in both of those runs." I'm hitting 220
And you're a freshman.
and I'm a freshman on a fall team. And he goes, "Okay, then why don't you go drive the runs in?" And then I walk away and I think to myself, "You are an idiot.
Yeah.
You are a goddamn idiot." And you know me, I'm not like a smug. It's so out of my nature to do that.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I'm just putting that bunt down. But I was like, "No, I'll knock those runs in." I don't know where that came from. And immediately I'm buried in the count. And I'm like, "Oh God, this is gonna be so awful. This is gonna be the worst moment." Like,
Yeah.
it's
Ever.
just awful. And the dude hung a slider to me, and I knocked it like 400 feet. I mean, I'm gone.
Home run?
Home run.
Oh, wow. That's
Dude,
fucking awesome.
it was the greatest moment
So he's at
ever.
third base when you're rounding third. Is he fucking excited?
Dude, the guy went ballistic, man.
That's awesome.
He, after the game, we're all sitting in a little, he pulls us all in and he let everyone know. He
That's
told
awesome.
the story to everyone. He goes, "You want to hear what happened today?" He's like, "I told John the bunt. He said he's going to knock in their runs," and he goes and hits a home run.
That's amazing.
The
That's a great
bomb,
story.
too, man. I hit a bomb.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I never saw that bomb hitting power.
When I first started with the,
Nah, you did. I'm only fucking with you.
no, I hit back then.
All right. So then you leave Marietta after a semester. What do you do after that
I think I take a semester off. I leave, I take a semester off, and then I go to community college for a year.
year? And then you wind up at Widener.
Yes, I wanted to go to Temple
Yeah.
because I knew a lot of the guys playing for Temple, really good ball players. I was like, I'll go to Temple. This is great.
Yeah.
I'll at least have some, I'll know people.
Right.
The guy I played with at Lincoln, really good ball player, Mike McDonald, mashed and got a scholarship to Temple. So I was like, I'm in good shape. I'll be in good hands. I know I'll be taken care of. Well, what I didn't know was uh, the first semester community, I took like 15 credits, and the second semester, I took like 12. And Temple was like, "We can't accept you with 12 credits."
Oh, really? Because of 3 credits?
They said, "Yeah, we have to have 15 to transfer in here." And I was like, "Really? That's weird."
Yeah.
So they just wouldn't accept me for that.
Oh, really? That's weird.
We happened to play Widener. Community played Widener in a game, and the coach talked to me, and my coach talked me up, and that's just where I ended up.
Yeah.
So
And how was Widener?
it's good. It was good. I mean, the best thing that happened to me at Widener was just not playing ball there, though.
Yeah.
I think more and more people will find that like sometimes the best thing to happen to you um, is to not, you know, is to not make it sometimes because it
Yeah.
made me have to choose um, who am I? Like, what am I here for then? Like
Right.
I'm not going to be able to play ball.
Yep.
And and then then I was able to really expand what I wanted to do. Like, if you're playing at a college, you know that it's your sport and your academics and nothing.
Right.
A lot of people, I don't know if everyone realizes that. Like, if you're playing a D1, D2, I don't even care. It was
No,
D3.
it doesn't matter,
It
really.
doesn't matter, dude. It's you wake up and you're either gonna be at practice
Yeah.
or you better get your grades, and there's no really downtime.
And you might have a semester off in the off season, but you're still working out.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's a commitment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, that's when I found things like the literary journal and
And
just
things.
things that I was interested in but never pursued, and then I decided to open up my horizons.
Now I know this, but your dad passes away during that time. Was that right when you got to Widener?
No, so my dad was there for the first semester, so I was fall of 98.
Yeah,
He's around as I'm trying to make the team. He sees that it's just not going to happen. Uh, which is, I mean, it was frustrating. I was frustrated, and I was like, kind of talking to him, like, I should probably just quit, right? I mean, I'm not going to make, like, at some point, enough is enough.
yeah.
Um, so I don't make the team, and he passes away May of that year.
Talk to me about that and how that impacted you.
Well, what happened is, so let's go back to let's date ourselves pre cell phones, pre able to get anybody on the phone,
Yeah,
right? So,
especially
um,
especially at college, right?
right.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you had one opportunity to get me, and then I was out.
right.
So, um, it was finals week or close to it, maybe a week before. It was. I know we were headed into finals. It was like May-ish, and my sister calls and says, your dad's not doing well. He fell down the stairs, and we've been trying to talk him into going to the hospital, but he won't go. He just thinks he has a leg injury, so he's just not going to go to the hospital. Um, so then I'm like, okay. I knew by the time they reached me, a couple days probably. I said, you know what? I come home tomorrow. I'm gonna come home, and then the next morning I'll go over. We'll visit him, and I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
And he died that night.
Ah, Jesus.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, obviously devastating.
Yeah.
Um, Apparently what happened was he had a minor heart attack at the top of the stairs,
Okay.
caused him to pass out.
Yeah.
That's why he
Fell.
fell down all the stairs. By falling down the stairs, he developed a blood clot in his leg.
Yeah.
So that pain in his leg was a blood clot, and thinking that he would eventually get better, the blood clot traveled to his lungs,
And died.
and he died.
Sad.
Yeah. And apparently my grandmother hid it from the family that happened.
Oh, that he.
That he
That.
fell, that he was hurt, that
Yeah.
that's the way it was, like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
ended up doing the same thing that caused her own death later.
Really.
Hid something from the family that caused her to be more hurt and that ended up dying from it as well.
Yeah.
So she didn't tell anybody for, I don't know, days and days, and then people were trying to reach my dad, or I mean, he was a very private person, so he was probably like, "Don't say anything,"
Right.
don't.
Yeah. He didn't want anybody to know.
Mm-mm. And he wasn't going to go to the hospital. There was nothing I was going to do to get him to go to the hospital. So,
Talk to me about your dad and that relationship you've had with him.
I mean, we had a fantastic relationship. He was a quiet. What a great sense of humor. Fantastic, dry, great sense of humor. And you were lucky if you got to be around it,
Yeah.
or you got the guy who was closed off and didn't talk to anybody.
And just probably gave you yes and no's, kind of like,
Very quiet,
yeah.
kept to himself. And if you got in, if you were able to kind of break through,
Yeah.
then you would find that he was one of the funniest people ever. The
Yeah.
stuff he would say, it was hysterical. Um, so actually, I was going to tell you kind of a story about that. So I'm around seventh or eighth grade. My dad was a retail manager at Kitty City. He loses his job not because Kitty City goes bankrupt, so
Yeah.
he's out of work, and he starts. He I guess he just went into a pizza shop one day, ended up striking up a conversation with the owners, became really friendly with them, decided he would deliver pizzas for them.
Yeah.
So I'm a freshman in high school, sophomore, throughout my entire high school, playing career. He comes to every single practice, every single game, doesn't miss anything.
Yeah.
And you know, that's when I learned, like, when I look back, what was the most important thing that he ever gave me was his time.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most valuable lesson I guess I've ever learned is that if you can give your kids that time,
Yeah.
you're giving them more than you are providing them with something that is more valuable that they can take for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. You don't even have to say something, right? You just being there.
Just being there. That's it.
Yeah.
So on one side, it's like, he was no longer working, the full time, you know, position and he was just sort of getting by.
Yeah.
By that time, he moved in with his mom, so it was a good situation for him because it was like that he could take care of her. She, he didn't have to deal with the mortgage and all that stuff.
Right.
So it was a really good situation for both of them. Um, and then he just came to everything,
That's awesome.
and he supported that. That's the way he was able to support us.
So, all right. So you stopped playing baseball, and how was college? The rest of college?
Um, Difficult, hard. My dad dies, and I'm just wildly depressed.
Yeah.
So, how do you deal with that? You know what I mean? Not only does he die, he dies traumatic. He dies, overnight.
Right.
So one day he's here, the next day he's gone, just done. Um, and how do you deal? I don't know how you don't deal with it, right? I mean,
No.
you just you get by, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how I managed was um he passes away in May, and I'm headed in a bad direction. I mean, just I'm blowing everything off at this point.
Blowing everything off, what
School wise.
partying all
Oh
the
my
time.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, I'm hanging in there enough that I'm not gonna, I'm doing okay academically, but
Right.
nothing that's gonna, but yeah, I was just out of control for a little while there. Then a friend from high school calls me up one day. His dog was like the coolest dog I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
I say to this guy, I'm like, I love your dog. Like, if your dog ever has puppies, I want one. Calls me up, says, yo, my dog had puppies. You want one? I'm a sophomore in college, and I go, shit, yeah. Where can I go get one? And I jump in the car, and we drive over to New Jersey and pick up a puppy, and
Yeah.
I bring a puppy back to my fraternity house. And a 6-week-old dog. I could not take care of myself,
Yeah.
let alone the 6-week-old dog. Um, that dog grounded me. It gave me something I had to come home to,
Yeah.
something I had to take care of, a living thing that I had to support.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. She was the thing that got me through that period.
Yeah. Graduated Widener?
Yes, in 2001ish, I guess.
What do you do after that?
So I went to school for education. I thought I'd be an English teacher. That didn't pan out
Yeah.
because I was a complete like jerk off kind of about my education.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is I mean, I blew off so much stuff that Widener chased me down because I was missing like a credit, and I didn't actually graduate in 2001 because I was missing a like 3 credit class.
Right.
So eventually, I mean, I just went to work basically, but
Yeah.
eventually, eventually I go back and I take that class as an independent study and get my degree.
What year did you how old were you when you finished up at Widener?
30 maybe
Oh, so you no. I mean, but when you
originally.
originally, yeah,
Goodness, 22-ish
22, 20.
probably.
All right, so talk to me about that next 22 to 30. What are you doing during that time?
Okay, so I lived off campus.
Yeah.
We lived about a block off campus, and we just had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a good time. So I lived with like 4 other guys. We got along great.
Yeah.
Um, I
And
was
you're working, you're doing
I'm just working like in retail, just
okay.
enough to get by.
Gotcha.
But I didn't jump into anything professionally. Um,
So I meet you when you're 28 years old,
yeah, you meet me. I'm 28 years old, and I'm working in the transportation industry.
doing what logistics.
Yeah, I was a dispatcher for for a company.
And then and where were you living at that point? Were you're living in your grandmother's house or no?
No, at that point, I think when you met me, I was living with a girl that I.
Oh, you were
Yes,
in South Jersey.
yes.
So tell me about what's that transition like?
Which transition?
So you're down in Widener, you're living there for a while, then you hook up with this girl?
Yeah, because like at one point we just were no longer in our house off campus, and we all kind of had to go our separate ways. My
Gotcha.
separate way was my sister's basement.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm living in my sister's basement. I have my dog.
Yeah.
I'm still staying out till like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
every time I would come home and she'd be like, your dog needed to be walked. And, where were you? Like, you didn't take care of her. Like,
Yeah,
you should have
yeah,
taken care of your dog. I meet this girl and I don't know, like immediately she's like, "Hey, if you're in a bad spot, why don't you come live with me?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a great idea."
yeah.
Where the hell was everyone?
Well, yeah,
Like,
yeah, that went well, right?
oh my God.
She was a disaster.
Dude, that was one of the worst situations ever.
I remember
Oh my
that.
God, it was so bad.
And she had a kid, right?
Oh God, the most awful human being. Both of them. That whole family. They're
Uh,
so awful. I had a friend of mine, um, my friend of mine from my wedding, his wife, she goes, "So what was it like when you told your family when you finally left her?" And I said, "Do you remember the stock footage of when they from Iraq when they tore down Saddam Hussein's statue? You ever remember that?"
mhm.
And everyone's going nuts like with
Yeah,
excitement. I was
yeah.
like, "That's what my family was like."
Oh, yeah.
They were so excited that I finally just got out of that
I
situation.
think I said something rude and awkward about that. I'm like happy for you. Like, oh, thank God you got out of it.
I was miserable that entire time, and I was
Yeah.
just kept looking for opportunities to leave.
All right. Yeah. So then that brings you to what, like 28, 29?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I know I joined the team, and by the time I joined the team, I think I was living in my grandmother's
Nah,
house.
you were still with her at the
But for a
beginning.
little bit, right, and then when I left, I moved into my
You were over
grandmother's house in Port
there,
Richmond.
and then you were there for a while, right?
Mhm.
And again, working in logistics most of that time.
Yeah, I lived in that house for 3 years, I think,
Yeah.
before I met Melissa.
And then you met your wife,
Mhm.
and you guys were together how long before you got married?
After a year, we were engaged.
Right.
So 1 year we're engaged, and then a year and a half married.
After that.
Exactly, we had a year and a half long, engagement.
So 2.5 years again.
Mhm, yeah.
And then you guys get together, then you move up to Bucks County.
I moved to Chalfont because she's a teacher
Yep.
in the Central Bucks School District,
Gotcha.
and, I figured, you know what? I can still, I'll just suck it up. She has
Yeah.
the better job. She has the,
Yeah.
I'll move in with her.
And now you guys have two kids together,
Hmm.
two boys.
Adam and Aaron, yes.
And then you changed jobs a couple times since then, right? So
Yes, I found a nice little gig at Verizon for 3 years. It was a good gig, but it was a contract kind of work. And after 3 years, it was just done.
yeah,
What unfortunately, the recession hit right at the time
yeah,
that I was let go.
yeah,
And I was like, "Oh my God, I am so royally screwed."
yeah.
Um, so I was like, the only place I could think to go back to was that
Trans
transportation company,
that was
which
I forgot you were back there for a while.
I went back there in a sales role.
Yeah,
I did fine for about 3 or 4 years, but I was
forgot
miserable.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those people were awful too.
yeah. We had lots of conversations about that being miserable.
Oh, it was so bad.
Yeah,
It was like being in a bad relationship, like,
yeah. And then no matter how good you were doing,
oh, dude, there
it
was
was
no
always a problem.
everything was a problem, and it's just you were just getting dumped on all the time. And then, an old colleague from the transportation industry was at my current company and just posted that they had an opening, and I inquired about it and got in.
And you've been there how long?
5 years.
5 years. And that's close. That's pretty close to your house, though, right?
Yeah, but I don't even go in, so
Oh, it's all
it's
virtual.
yeah, I go in once a week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's so it kind of brings me back to what does this job allow me to do? It allows me to have time with my kids.
Right.
I mean, that's why, I do what I do because I'm like,
Right, your kids were off today and you were working, but you were home.
exactly,
Yeah,
just
nice.
hanging out. I get to go to, I mean, unfortunately for my wife being a teacher, she can't go to things. She
Right.
can go to nothing. She can't go to field trips. She can't really,
Yeah,
teachers just can't do that stuff.
and you could work it all out.
I do it all.
Yeah.
And, they make fun of me at the school sometimes.
Yeah, school dad. Yeah.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
Me and the principal have a great relationship, but I came in to go on a field trip, and she goes, "Oh, I knew you were here for the field trip. A bunch of moms came in, and then you." And I was
That's a
like, "Hey, easy." Like, and she goes, "No, I love it." I'm like, "Yeah, well, okay."
that's great. So
Yeah,
talk to me about your current situation. What's life like for the Slinka family right now?
it's a loaded question. I don't know. What is life like for the Slinka
I
family
know,
right
you
now?
tell me. I'm fucking asking you the question.
Hold on. All right. I mean, life's good. What am I going to complain about?
Yeah.
My oldest son runs track, loves it. My youngest son is in the jiu-jitsu and baseball and um, things are good. I have a really nice lawn,
You live
lots
in
of
a
good bushes and
you live
stuff.
in a suburb.
I do. I do.
You have a little space now.
Yeah, I have what's nice about my house, and they don't build them. I'm gonna sound like an old dude. They don't build them like this anymore. They just don't. And the house was built in like '69 or so. And what I have is a lot of space between me and my neighbors.
Right.
It's that like just a little distance.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna pay God knows how much, and you're gonna be living on top of people. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
So we go there, we see the house, and I'm like, now this house needed work.
Right.
I mean, these people planted every single like shrub and everything else, and I was like, God damn, it's gonna be a disaster. But I tell Melissa, I go, I'm gonna be into this. I'm gonna work outside,
Yeah.
and she clowns me.
Yeah.
She says, when have you ever mown a lawn?
Yeah.
When have you ever done any of this? Like
That's
you're
fine.
saying you're gonna take care of this, but
Yeah.
how?
Yeah.
I don't. She's not
Yeah.
a believer yet.
Yeah. You lived in the concrete jungle your whole life, so you don't
Exactly.
get it.
How are you ever going to take this on? And man, it was a strong learning curve. It was not easy, as you know now, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No,
There's a learning curve with
I I built a house in Jersey. I have more than an acre of land. I call John often now.
exactly. Hey, what kind of lawnmower do I need to get?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all
Right.
right, this is what you need.
Yeah. You can't do a push mower, buddy.
Yeah, dude, those days are over. If they ever existed, you're not push mowing that property.
The one thing I forgot to ask you about was the how grass always wins.
You have no shot.
You have no shot. Grass
No.
wins.
Yeah, you have no shot to. You'll never have an immaculate lawn. Honestly, the most miserable people on earth are the ones chasing that great lawn too.
Yeah, that like that little piece of
The weeds always win, Dave.
the weeds always win.
The weeds win.
Motherfucker,
You
dude.
can't get rid of
I've
them. You can't do it.
I've put in plastic down. They still find a way
You
through.
have no shot.
It's unbelievable.
Um,
You just got to give up a
dude,
little bit.
man, I was out there in the yard today for like an hour.
Yeah.
We'll call that lunch. But I was out there mowing and then trimming, and man, it looks good out there right now. I'm living my best life with that.
All right. So
So,
how old are the kids? The kids
10 and 7.
10 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like being a parent?
Challenging,
Yeah.
hard. It's great. That it's just the hardest job you're ever going to do in your life, and you know you got to take it with. There's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
The responsibility that you are going to be the reason. This little thing is going to grow up, and you hope be a really good human being someday.
Yeah.
And you know, are you giving them, are you giving them what they need to exist in this world that can be a tough place to be?
Yeah. Yeah, it is tough. Talk to me about your plans for the next 10 years. The kids are a little bit young, so 5-year plan is, I'm sure, raising them. But how about
Yeah.
10 years? Or when they're sort of out of the house? What's the plan?
Honestly, I would love to get back to writing again.
Yeah,
If I could find my way back to it.
yeah,
What I did recently is, I kind of took on this writing role in my son's school, where I kind of launched a program there, and it was like
awesome.
awesome. It was fun.
Yeah,
It was called Reading Olympics, and I reached out to the principal. I was like, "Hey, can we do this program?" And she said, "I would love to. I just don't have anybody to run it."
right.
I said, "Now you do. Let's go. We're
Uh,
doing this."
It's awesome.
Yeah, and they supported me. They were awesome the whole way, and we went from. I was like, "Look, we could get like 10 kids, 15 kids to sign up. It's gonna be great."
Yeah,
We ended up with like 40.
yeah,
And next year we'll probably have 60. It's just the program was fun. It got kids reading, and it was all about like if you can get books in the kids' hands, they're gonna do better.
yeah, no doubt.
Just get them reading.
So talk to me about your journey with writing. Like, when did you decide that? I know you're an English major
Hmm.
in college.
Yeah,
When did you figure out that you liked writing?
somewhere in um, I guess seriously in college,
Yeah.
where I was like, oh, I can do this, and
What made
uh,
you want to be an English major though? So before college.
seriously,
Yeah,
okay, great question.
yeah,
I went into college, and I was like, all right, I'm coming into college with basically no education.
yeah, right. Because like
I'm
it's not the greatest school in the world.
I'm kind of screwed in this
Yeah.
situation. I'm like, how? And I'm very self-conscious that I'm just gonna fail miserably, like land on my face and have no shot here.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, all right, what major can I get away with without having much background? And it wasn't English, it was history at
Okay.
first.
All right.
I go in as a history major thinking I'll just do this and I'll be fine. And I was fine until an English professor got a hold of me and was like, "Hey, why don't you switch up, become an English major?"
Oh, really?
hmm
That's nice.
And then and I was like, "Yeah, this is great." I
And
mean,
yeah, and people don't know this, but you have written a book.
yes, I wrote a novel.
Yeah.
Um, and the funny thing about that is I started as a short story in college and it evolved and it kept evolving and then I got a hankering and I just couldn't get rid of it and took me about 15 years to write.
Yeah.
So I mean it's been at least it's a finished thing now.
But it didn't. I mean, it took you worked on it for 15 years.
Agreed. What
Yeah.
happened, well, the reason it took so long partly is because I just wasn't ready to write it when I started it.
Right. Okay.
And there's so much involved in I mean, some people maybe come to it earlier than I did, and I'm sure there's more gifted people out there who can find their voice sooner
Yeah.
and maybe could have knocked it out faster. But for me, it was like I didn't have a style yet. I didn't know what I was writing yet, and I was like, and I always have these enormous ideas that like I can get this out there. In any event, so many of those years were just finding my way to write the way that would present like this is who I am. This is now I'm proud of what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
So there's like 5 years that you're just wasting,
Right.
and then eventually you're starting to put something together. And then I started getting real serious about it. I got, believe it or not, I got accepted to an MFA program,
Yeah.
and Melissa and I just looked at each other for a minute. She's
Yeah.
like, "What's this going to cost?"
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, honey, I'll make up for it when I'm teaching creative writing in college, like every other MFA major that.
Right.
Um, and she's like, but seriously, like, what are you going to do with this degree? I mean, what's the purpose?
Right.
Um, and look, I could have swung it, and then Adam came,
Right.
and let's just be honest about it. What's more important here? Like
Yeah.
blowing 30 grand a year on a degree that's not going to really get me anywhere.
Yeah. It's a sort of like a ego stroke a little bit. I mean, is
I
that
guess. I guess. I mean, there's something to the degree. I
yeah.
guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to completely shit on it.
Right. Right.
But it's an arts degree.
Yeah.
It's not something that you don't come out of it. You might come out of it a little bit better writer. But honestly, if you want to be a great writer, you need to be a great reader and then write. It's
Yeah. You
not that
just need to
hard.
write. Yeah.
It's not. It's not rocket science. You have to have read a lot of books because that's one of the. I mean, you do have to read,
Yeah.
and then you have to write.
Tell me
There's no
about
degree that's going to help you with that.
Tell me what the thing that you love about writing. What is it that draws you to it?
I love being able to put a story. I love being able to put something on a page that like when you nail a great like I've nailed a great sentence here and there and it's like, man, I put that on I did that. Like
Yeah.
I have a like in my novel I have a there's a moment where I captured something that was like perfect.
Yeah.
And putting that out there and knowing that it's like the best thing I'll probably ever write, I'm like, damn, that was good.
Yeah.
So being able to put something out there that other people will read and be like and can relate to, maybe I don't know. I mean, it's just like
In some kind of emotional way, right? Like,
absolutely.
yeah, connecting to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've had um I don't know if you know this or not, but I tried like for 2 years to get an agent.
Yeah, I do.
So I spent 2 years and that's a hard road.
Yeah.
Lots of great feedback, lots of people who said, we love it, but we're not going to sign you because it's too quiet. My novel is very quiet, Dave.
Apparently. Okay.
Quiet is the word that they use because there's not enough happening. It's a very character driven thing.
Right.
And
And
I'm just,
they want they basically want salacious stories, right?
well, you know what it is so I was in that place where I was like, I want to write it my masterpiece, my literary masterpiece.
Yeah.
And that's what I devoted my time to, not knowing that nobody else really wants my literary masterpiece.
Right.
Um, Not saying you can't sell a literary novel. It just takes a long time, and
Yeah.
you won't make any money selling. You won't make any
Well,
money.
or it's the second novel, right?
Yes.
Right. You wrote your second novel. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You
you're
didn't
right.
you know what I mean?
And so now I have to write another one
To
that is a little more
s-
less quiet,
yeah, salacious. Yeah.
salacious,
Yeah.
and then I might be able to sell my first one.
Right.
Yeah, but in all honesty though, most people have to write 5 or 6 before they ever sell one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm the lazy asshole that only wrote one and was like, "Why won't you buy this? It's
Yeah, it's great.
great. What are you talking about?
It's
It's
so
awesome. Have you not read it?"
it's so well written and it's a great story. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
yeah,
not great. It's okay. I mean, it's good.
no, it is very good.
It's good, but it's not great. It has flaws that
There's
I,
no there's nobody that writes that doesn't have flaws.
of
There's
course
there's no
it
perfect.
no, of course.
Yeah.
What it is, it's written from the first person. I think I do a really good job with the voices and capturing characters and developing I think it's good, but it has a lot of flaws and I don't have the time to fix them. And I shouldn't spend the time fixing them,
Right.
honestly.
But
It's a slippery slope, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life on one novel. I want to write something else.
yeah. And who cares that like the way I think about it too is if it doesn't get sold though, it's something your kids will always have. That's your voice.
Exactly, and that's the other thing. I'm leaving something a legacy behind for them.
Yeah.
I'm leaving something behind that they can read, and in a moment, they can be inside my head. They can read something that this is me putting this out there,
Yeah.
and they're able to tap into that at any point.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's really awesome, and
Yeah.
my novel's really a love story to my dad, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't start that way,
Yeah.
but that's what it turned into. It turned into a a relationship about how that's what it ended up being, and I love that because it was a way for me to work through some things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and partly it was like what also took so long. I needed distance.
Yeah.
You can't write about your dead dad a year or 2 after it happened. You
Can't.
you need 10 years
Yeah, you do.
before you can really write about it from an honest, pure place. You
Right.
need space,
You need space.
and I needed that distance. You get that distance, and you're like, "Now I can come at it from an honest place and not say, you know, get away from the this perfect human being that he was not,"
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
And that I'm a quiet writer, meaning that like people don't know that necessarily I do it.
mhm.
And I started with actually poems, which are still make me a little bit insecure that I would do that. And then I start writing like
Insecure, what do you mean insecure that you wrote poems or insecure that
uh,
what was the insecurity?
the insecurity is people might laugh at them.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. If you're not insecure, you're not a writer, by the way.
You're right. I mean,
You're
I have it. You've seen some of them, and
uh-huh.
because I trust you, but there's some of them that are just sappy and what in the 1970s and 80s we would have said gay.
Right.
But I mean, I there's some of them that I still can't share.
Dude, my when I was writing poetry in college, so around
Yeah,
what was 98 or 99, dude, I was writing all love poems.
yeah,
And and then I got my heart broken a couple times, and I was like, now I became more like a callous, like sarcastic son of a
yeah,
bitch, and I was writing uh then I was just writing like kind of like fuck off poems
yeah,
kind of at that point. Like I was reading some Ginsberg and stuff, and
yeah.
decided to tap into that a little bit.
And then it transitioned into me writing like like short stories, kind of a thing, 2-page things.
Well, there's the 2 page that's called like the short. There's a market for that stuff.
There is a market for it.
Yeah, if
I
you
mean,
write
I know, to be honest with you, I know that there is because that's the things like when I do it on social media that get the most people love them. They love it.
oh, I know, I've seen it where yeah, they're Facebook loves when you put out uh your posts that are like the short little
Yeah, like it's a too long for a Facebook post, but it's not.
no, absolutely. But
It's a 3-minute read, the 3-minute
yeah.
reads. And then that a lot of basically all that stuff, those 3-minute read basically stuff, I turned into, a sort of a novel. I don't know what the fuck
Well,
it is.
it's funny because I don't. a lot of people don't know that I've written a novel, right?
Yeah.
But part of that's because of my insecurity that I couldn't sell my novel.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, because look, from my perspective, I know that like I had like I'm not trying to like really brag on, but
Yeah.
these were like some really top agents, like New York big agents that were like, "Hey, you can write,
Yeah. You're really good at writing. Yeah.
but we're not buying it. We're not going to pick you up, but I really liked it."
Yeah.
So there you're dealing with that. You're like, "So, God,
Yeah.
that hurt me more."
Like try again is basically what they were trying to
Yes,
say.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I even had, I sent out rewrites. They were like, "Hey, it just doesn't get the action doesn't start fast enough," things like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna work on that." And
Yeah.
then in my head, I went from stuff really starting to happen in 100 pages. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
To I've got it down to like, and by when you get to page 50,
Yeah. Right.
this thing
I,
takes off, and
and
they're like, "Dude,
yeah,
no."
it needs to be page 3, right?
Yeah.
For them. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
what's interesting is through that Reading Olympics program, I've been reading a lot of middle grade novels
Yeah.
because I've been everything Adam was reading, I was reading.
Yeah.
In truth, I was reading it to him,
Yeah.
and I was like, "There's some great books for that age."
Yeah.
And I don't mean I thought it was all garbage, honestly.
Right. But it's not.
It's not. I'm talking like there's one called Fire Girl, and I'm telling you, fantastic.
Yeah.
This guy, Tony something Abbott,
I mean,
absolutely
some of the
genius.
greatest books are things that you read in 7th and 8th grade.
Seriously. And
Really. Yeah.
and maybe it was a snobbery or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Probably
Probably.
was. I mean, I was probably going through some elitist bullshit period in my life.
Yeah.
But also I think I might have been going through that as a over compensation
Your
for
insecurity. Yeah.
never thinking I was good enough. So now
Yeah.
I'm going to be too good.
Yeah.
And then it's like I'm going to write, this great thing. And um, now I want to go back and I want to write a story that Adam can read
Yeah.
now
That's awesome.
because he wants to read my writing, but he can't read that thing.
Right. It's too. Yeah.
It gets a little too graphic. There's
Yeah.
a little stuff that happens. I'm just like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to put that book away
Yeah.
because, um, as you get into, what you learn is it's called the I don't know, they call it like the it's a book that you just put away.
Right.
Your first book, write it, do it, put it away.
Yeah.
Don't go back to it because if you go back to it, you'll never stop.
Yeah.
Guess what I've never done? Never stopped.
Yeah.
I keep going
You,
back to it and
well,
I got to stop.
what's funny is the point that when I started talking about my writing is that I wanted to say that I think that it was part of what you were doing. It was my therapy.
Hmm.
It was really the most formal therapy I ever had is I got to write it and just fucking actually say it.
Yeah.
Really to say the things that I wanted to say about my life.
Hmm.
Again, it was, some of it's a little bit exaggerated, a little bit fiction, but it's basically, a lot of the stuff that I've written is basically my life.
Yeah. And if
And
you read my novel, you'll know what kind of childhood and what kind of like
right.
you'll know about me,
Yeah.
even though it's 90% fictionalized,
Right.
but I'm pulling from a place.
Right. Right. You're pulling from, and that's probably why you have to step away from it, right? Because
Mhm.
you can't keep going back there.
I know.
You got to move forward, right? And that's at this podcast and my revelation about just I'm tired of talking about the past is that and it's the same thing with the book. I think probably is that you just have to move past it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And that's why it's like some of these just kick-ass novels that I read for Adam, every single one of them was great. There wasn't a shitty one in the bunch, but made me think I can do that.
Yeah,
I know I can do that.
yeah, you could do that. Well, start it, do it,
I got to do it.
do it. Like
I just need
write
it.
write the first page, right?
Seriously.
Yeah,
And I'm like, and then I know how to tap into that, you know, because part of what I wrote was, a first person novel from a kid who was like 10 years old.
yeah,
So from a literary standpoint, it was really hard to consider it literary because you're writing from a 10-year-old voice,
right,
but that's what it was.
right.
So it was really didn't have a market.
Yeah, it's a slow to develop, and it's from a 10-year-old's voice, and you thought you were going to sell it.
I never thought I was going to make
No,
money
I'm
though.
only fucking
I
kidding with
never
you.
thought people were like, "Oh yeah, when you're famous." I'm like, "Listen, dude, this isn't it.
Yeah, you can't. It's just
I'm never
so
going to be famous
it's
off
so
this
hard.
thing.
It's so
I
hard.
might sell a couple copies someday, but I'll
Yeah.
never be famous off of it.
Well, again, maybe if it's your second or third one,
Hey, who knows?
you never know. All right, let's talk about some advice now.
God,
Advice that you might give other people. Well, first, I want to talk about advice you want to give your 18-year-old version of you. What advice would you give you?
you'll get through it. Like, uh, I think a lot of life is thinking that it's too much to deal with. There's always times where you think, this is tough. I'm going through a lot. This is going to be hard. And I think what people don't realize is there's nothing too hard that you can't overcome,
Yeah,
and time heals. And if you can get through the worst times of your life, there's good stuff right on the other side. You just have to get through it. You have to just, manage your way through it. Um, Having dealt with a lot of like depression in my life and things like that, there was a time where I realized the light bulb kind of went off where it was basically like, hey, you're in a bad spot. You're depressed. You'll get through it.
yeah,
And you got to realize that, because if you never realize that, then how do you know that you will? You
no,
think
that's
this is it, man. I'm. How do you know that you'll ever get better if you don't know that? I'm speaking in circles, but
yeah,
when you're in it and you're in a really bad place, the only thing your world is that bad,
bad thing.
dark place.
Yeah,
So if you don't know that there's something on the other side of that that's positive,
yeah.
you may not get through
I
it, and
mean,
you may
that's the spiral, right? I mean, that's how people spiral.
absolutely.
That's how they end up on drugs. That's how they end up hanging themselves.
Yep.
It's how they end up just caught in that same rut.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I've seen more in my experiences. Well, drugs certainly. I you know my history. I know suicide
Hmm.
all too well, but the most people just get caught and they're in the same spot that they were 10 years ago
Yeah.
because they can't get past whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
And that was my dad. My father's life was full of depression and just afraid of taking chances, just afraid of taking chances. And for what? Like, what were you losing? What
But you
the,
have to get to a point,
yeah,
developmentally,
yeah.
and not everyone gets there.
They just don't get there. You're right. You're right.
Some people, how many times have you run into someone who's the same today as they were in high school?
Yeah,
And it's like, what a sad fucking life that is, man. Like,
yeah.
you haven't changed. How the fuck haven't you changed, man?
John, that brings me to that hits hard right there because I remember having a conversation with my father about not baptizing my children,
Mhm.
right? And him telling me that he remembers the kid that used to do the sign of a cross when he was walking up to the to the plate every time, and I did. I was that kid.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was a sign of the cross.
Really?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
No shit.
I'd kiss the cross every
Damn,
once.
you bought all the way in.
Yeah, well, yeah, not really. I mean, I didn't go to church, but yeah, but I mean,
But you did the sign of the cross.
yeah, I did the sign of the cross and all
Was
that.
it more like because was there a popular player at the time doing it?
No, it wasn't that. It
What
was
was it?
I was praying to God. I was
Really?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
But
Now you guys, did you grow up Catholic?
yeah, I was Catholic. Yeah,
Okay,
Catholic. We
I
grew
didn't
up
know that.
Catholic. We were
Okay.
Catholic. We were like, we were kind of basically holiday Catholics. Like, we might go
Yeah.
on Christmas or we would go, but in any event, but he was so like taken aback that I wasn't going to go that route because, that I used to be that. I said, Dad, I'm, I'm, I'm a different person now. And it blew his fucking mind. Like it was something that he couldn't understand that I could change my opinion. I could, yeah,
Do you ever think that that's just like where some people are like, I
yeah,
don't know where we fall in this, I
yeah,
mean, I know when I look for like advice and I look for like I'm constantly in pursuit of information.
yeah.
Um but that's not normal. I don't think that's there's a lot of people like who just like I don't know, they get to a spot and their beliefs continue to be their beliefs forever.
Yeah, I think you can either get one of two things. You're either comfortable at that spot or you're don't know how to get out of it. So
Mhm.
it's one of two things. And I think that happens to a lot of people at some point. You're just completely comfortable and in that
Well,
existence. No, I am always I am not afraid to change my opinion or to change things. I want to always be progressing.
I
That's the way
agree.
the way I feel about it. Maybe that's what draws us to each
Maybe,
other.
maybe, yeah, because you know what? I think there are people who look, if your mom told you this and your dad told you this, and this is what your siblings believe, then only naturally this is what I should believe.
Right.
And I kind of think growing up, I've always had a little chip on my shoulder.
Well, I certainly did. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had a chip. I mean,
Yeah.
I people, I don't know about you, but there's people who don't really know me that well who think like that I'm the nicest human being.
Well, no, you
I
are
can come off
you're a very nice guy.
okay, but I can come off a little like to a point where people are like they think I'm a pushover, and
Yes.
I'm like that's niceness is often perceived as weakness.
So, it's funny that you say that because I know that you know me in a different way. You know me in a place where I've been a leader,
Hmm.
but I come I well, I have stand and murder face. That's one thing. So when people don't approach me necessarily because I look like I'm angry. But
Yeah,
the
I had a lady at work tell me that I had the best RBF she's ever seen. I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, "What's RBF?" She goes, "Resting bitch face," and I was like, "Seriously?"
but I think I have a lot of that same thing is that I'm very nice to people and I do try to avoid conflict for the most part.
Hmm.
My temper is terrible. It's gotten better over the years, but when I get pushed too far, I lose my fucking shit.
No, well, of
That's
course, yeah.
that's what happens to me. But it takes you way, way longer than it takes me.
It does, but the second I go off, it's banana. It's
I've seen it a couple times,
have you?
a couple times where, but you still
Oh, I wanted to fight that dude during a playoff game.
you wanted to fight that dude. There was a couple other times you almost lost it on our buddy Iraq one time,
Oh, maybe.
but you walked away.
Yeah, the
You were
one guy, he was having a tough time and it was in the playoffs, and I just felt bad for him, and I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, man, don't let it get to your head. You're gonna be fine. You know, we need you." And he said, "I don't need to hear shit from you. Get away from me." And then I
uh,
said, "I will fucking murder you."
yeah,
I was ready to
yeah,
I was ready to kill him at that point. I
yeah,
was like, "Fuck you, man."
yeah.
Like,
You're a jerko, though. Yeah, why are you
fuck
being a
you.
jerk?
Again, someone who thought, I was gonna be his punching bag, and I wanted to hurt him bad at that point. I was so mad.
How about advice for new parents? Any advice for new parents?
I said it before. The greatest commodity that you have is your time.
Yep.
It's the one thing that you can give that rich people, poor people, anybody who is able to give their time, as much of it as you can give, give it. Because at the end of the day, that's what you know, when I look back, do I think about the things my dad couldn't provide for me or my mom? I don't really think about that stuff. Do I think about how much time? My mom is one invite away from being at my house any given minute,
Yeah. It's
any
all
minute,
yeah.
anytime I can say, "Hey, mom, why don't you come over have dinner?" She's there.
Yeah.
My we host every kind of family function. My wife's side of the family, my side of the family, everyone comes.
Yeah.
My nieces, my nephew, they want to be around us still.
It's awesome.
They want to be around us because we treat them like human beings, not like little kids. We treat them like they matter
Yeah.
because they do. They're young adults now. Like I'm done. I'll still help you in any way ever,
Right.
but at the same time, let's have a beer together.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
How about new husbands?
Y- my advice is don't think because things got bad or things got tough that you're not having a good marriage. You're having a marriage.
Right.
Things get tough,
Yeah.
things get rough, and you're either going to work through them because you love and trust the person that you're with. Trust being the optimal thing there because, if you don't trust who you're with, it's going to be really, really hard.
What advice would you give to the new bosses of the world?
New bosses, God, don't micromanage, man. If we're as nice as I come off, Dave, I'm not a very easy employee to manage.
You don't like to be told what to do millions of times?
No, and I have a subtle way of telling you.
Subtle?
I think it's subtle.
How is it? I don't know. I've never been.
I wasn't that subtle one time, and I got a little bit, we got into a conversation about that. Um, could this have been an email, Dave? Uh,
Oh, it's funny.
anyway,
Yeah.
no, I would say, hey, if you hired somebody
Yeah.
and you're the boss, then and that person is good at their job,
Let him
you
be.
already did a good job.
Right.
You hired the right person.
Yeah.
Trust them.
Yeah.
And if they're not the right, if they're not right and you made a mistake, it would be better to eventually move on from your mistake than to try and overmanage that person who's probably not qualified for the job that you gave them.
Yeah. How about young workers?
I think young workers are fine. I, there's lots of you know, things in my day isms,
Yeah. Right.
and I don't like to get pulled into that because what uh, I see my nieces and my nephew, and they're busting their ass out there.
Right.
Um,
Just generally, how would you to your niece and nephew? What would you tell them about going to work?
just try to like what you do.
Yeah.
Try to like what you do because you're not here that long.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, think about it. You know what I mean? Like, um, I'm not saying you have to love what you do.
Yeah.
That could get tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
It's
You
gonna
might be searching for a long time for that.
right.
I knew one guy, one person I met in my entire life who loved his job. One loved. He was a professional soccer player
Yeah. Well, there you go.
and he loved his job. And I was like, God damn right. Yeah, because he had a great job.
Yeah.
I knew everyone else. I knew doctors and lawyers and all and I don't meet many that are like, man, my job's the best thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Teachers,
No.
doctors,
Nobody.
lawyers. I mean,
Right.
these are pretty esteemed professions.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to aspire for a profession, and it's up there, you start with doctors and lawyers and teachers. I mean, I think they're all pretty, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
these are jobs that people want when they're young.
Yeah. They're all high pressure jobs, though.
They are tough, man. Speaking of work, at what point aren't you in sales?
No, there's no point.
Even if you're a doctor, you're in sales, right? In some
Right.
capacity,
That's
lawyers, you're in sales.
well, I think you've heard me speak about this, but that's the least thing that I liked about being like I like, and I would still like being able to do a deposition or cross examine somebody
And what about
or even write a legal brief. That stuff intrigues you. It's the intellectual
and
pursuit
how
of it.
much of your job was that?
Um,
Percentage wise, like how much was it?
no, I mean, 25% of it
Okay.
and 75% of it is dealing with expectations.
Mm. And you've told me some of these where it's like no matter what you could do for somebody, they weren't happy. And that was just it.
Yeah, yeah, and this
Or even companies that weren't happy with, was it billable hours that you
yeah,
got?
billable hours, yeah, all that
And
stuff.
if you weren't meeting,
Well, listen, I always met them, and it still wasn't good enough, so it didn't matter.
right,
It was what more can you do for me? Always, what more can you do for me? You're c not only I billing the hours, but I'm managing the relationships and
dude, what
people.
would you do over there?
Banging fucking shit. Not only would I bill hours and I would manage relationships well, that people liked me and they trusted me like their clients, it still wasn't enough. More,
Right,
more,
right.
more.
Oh, I feel it every day too. But here's the thing.
Yeah,
Um, this is where confidence I think comes in,
yeah, you're right.
is that I work with people who are continuing to say, what can I do to finally get our boss to like recognize and be happy with our job?
Yeah,
And I'm like, fuck that.
yeah. At some point,
I'm like, I do a good job. At
right.
what point is she just going to leave me alone?
Yeah,
Like, it's not, I guess it gets to a point where it's like, here's something someone I work with doesn't realize that when you raise your hand and say, um, hey, we can do it. We can do it. The person at the top of the corporate ladder, they don't see someone volunteering to do more. What they see is someone who doesn't have enough work.
yeah,
So what happens is somebody is constantly saying, "Hey, we can do it." And I'm like, "We have a lot of work. We don't actually have time to do what they are asking us to do." but they see it as, oh, they don't have enough work. If they're volunteering to do more, they don't have enough.
Right.
And then you go around and around and around.
Yeah.
And that's
I had that happen to me this year. I mean,
right.
I took on a second job
Yeah.
and people were legitimately questioning, well, how is he able to do that? You know how he's able to do it? 80 hours a week.
Well, they don't see that side of it. All they see is that you're able to handle it.
I mean, I wasn't physically in the place 80 hours a week, but I'm answering emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's how I'm doing it. How I'm doing it is I'm putting the fucking time in.
You're not doing that now, though, right?
Now I'm done. No, that's over.
Yeah, 80 hours a week. How long did you do that?
6 months. It was a great experience. I'm glad I did it. I learned a ton about myself. I learned a ton about the industry that I'm in, uh, and I learned a ton about leadership and what to do and what not to do. And I learned
Let me
I
ask you,
learned that I do know what a scumbag is.
good. Let me ask you a question about work.
Yeah.
When do you think you would like to retire, and will you meet that expectation? And is retirement something you even aspire to?
So slowing down is something I aspire to. I don't. I'm terrified of being the person that is retired.
I'll never be that person.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to be the person that moves to Florida and sits in my house
Mm-mm.
or sits, and just because, my genetics, I will be 700 pounds and I'll be dead in 3 days.
Yeah.
So that terrifies me. And my history too. Like my dad was a really bad smoker and he was, uh, lazy. I mean, that's just who he was. But
Mm-hmm.
and I miss him and love him, but I'm not badgering. Him. But he died at 55 years old because he basically was retired for half his life.
Right.
So, but my grandfather murdered his body. Didn't
Right. I remember your grandfather.
and he lived till he was 81, but he
Yeah.
was nonstop.
Yeah.
So that's the way I feel about it. Like I don't want to stop.
You can't stop.
I don't want to stop. Yeah.
The
Listen,
people who stop, they uh 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 it's like you atrophy your mind
yeah.
and your body.
It's like a
And
car, right? Like
dude,
you sit a car out all winter, it won't start up.
it happens so fast.
Yeah.
And I think if you see it from a distance, then you know that you can never stop because stopping is what causes people to die.
Yeah. I mean,
Eventually. I
yeah.
mean,
When you become not relevant,
hmm
there's no reason for your body to be relevant. So why would it be? Right? I just don't want listen, I do martial arts 2 to 3 times a week and I still struggle with weight and I'm actually eating better and I still struggle. So
I stopped eating good.
but if I stop, I'll be a fucking disaster.
That's where I feel like I'm at. I'm like, at one point, I was eating great.
Yeah.
I felt great. And then I went down a road of like eating shit and I
Yeah.
haven't come back yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I went to the
It's
doc.
fun though, isn't it?
You know what? I'm enjoying the ride
Yeah.
until I have to rein it in,
Yeah.
which is right about now.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not ready yet. We're gonna go out and get wings.
We're gonna get some fucking wings right now.
Goddamn right. I'm not even close to ready. But when I stepped on the scale and I was like, "Ooh, we're getting close," but not there yet.
All right, I got one more like relationship or advice issue that I want to ask you about. What would 18-year-old version of you think of the 45-year-old version of you? 44-year-old version.
I think 18-year-old me would probably be like, "How did you pull that off?
Yeah.
How did you manage that?"
Do you think
Because the things that I have, they're nothing. It's nothing. I mean, nothing. I'm not bragging. I don't have like this incredible life or anything, but I have more than I ever thought I would.
right, do you think the 18-year-old version of you could conceive of this?
Great question. I mean, because at 18, I still thought I had a shot to play like professional baseball, which
Right.
which is kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Don't think I don't know all the math on that.
Yeah, right, but it's
I was
okay.
very, I was even analytical. I was kind of analytical then.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I have a 0.05% chance of this and a point zero. Okay, I can do that.
Right. Right.
Um, but I think in the end of the day, like 18-year-old me would be like, "Good for you, man. You're like,
You're doing nice. Yeah.
absolutely." I
Yeah.
mean, think, you know, I don't know if it's still the American dream to that your kids have an easier life than you had.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that was kind of one of the things, like make sure your kids have it better than you had.
Yeah.
And I know that was true of, my parents
Yeah.
and then me and then my kids for sure.
Right.
Um, just make it a little easier.
Yeah.
I think, um,
Don't you think you skipped 2 levels at least? You know what I'm
I
saying?
guess.
It's not like it's a little bit better. It's a lot better.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah. It's not close.
No, it's not
Yeah.
close. I mean, and then I look at it like, but providing for them isn't enough.
Right.
Eh, I put food on the table. Fuck you, dude. You signed up for that.
Right.
Don't don't ever say, I brought you into this world. No, you made a choice.
Right.
Like people who think that they did their kids a favor by bringing them into this world, maybe, maybe not.
Right.
Let's see how it works out.
Well, if you're that type of person, maybe not. Right.
Yeah, right. You didn't do them any favor. I mean, you might have given them,
Right.
like, but you wanted to have kids.
Yeah. I say that all the time. That my kids don't really owe me anything.
No, here's the other thing your kids don't owe you. Okay, um, my kid doesn't owe it to me to know how hard it was for me to grow up
Yeah. I know.
because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
I could go. I would go. I could take them through a drive through my old neighborhood,
Yeah.
but guess what? I'm not fucking nuts. I'm not
Right.
driving through my old neighborhood.
Right.
Not the way it is now.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So, we're not going there.
Right.
And here's the thing: I don't need to do scared straight with my son either.
Right. They're good kids. Yeah.
He's a good kid. A little bit, little attitude. I don't know where he gets that from.
I wonder.
Could be. He might have a little chip on his shoulder that he inherited from yours truly. But but here's the thing. But let me tell you this. Everyone wants them in their house, right? Yeah, what are you checking?
I'm sorry. I'm checking my
Fuck
phone.
off your phone, dude. That's so rude.
Sorry. My son. I had to pick up my son soon.
Jesus. No, you're not. You're
Uh,
not. God, I was in the middle of like being really eloquent
I'm
here.
listening. I'm listening.
You fucking
Fucking
looked at your phone.
sorry. Jesus Christ.
Christ.
I'm gonna have to fucking edit this out now. Come on. Finish.
All right, what were we talking about? I don't even know. I
Your
see you
kid.
on your phone.
Your kids.
Um, when are we picking your son up?
No, like 9:30. Come on. Let's go. We got a half hour.
Fuck, you just derailed this whole thing. All right. Um, people want him in their house.
Yeah.
They say, "When's Adam gonna come over?"
Yeah.
He's a nice kid.
Yeah.
He saves the other stuff for when he's home,
Right.
which is,
Well, we've talked about this before, but
it's a good thing
if that's happening, that means you're doing a good job. Because
because they feel safe,
well,
right?
yeah, right. When
Mhm.
they're doing it outside the home, that's the problem because
Right,
you're a shitbag.
right,
Right.
right. And that's the hardest thing. Um, one of the hardest things about being a parent is there's, not knowing the right way.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Like I am kind of a pushover in the house,
Yeah.
kind of, right?
Right.
Um, and it's like now I can still drop the hammer if I have to, but here's the hardest part is I grew up like I loved my dad. I feared my dad.
Hmm.
So my dad never had to deal with my bullshit
Right.
because that dude could go down an octane, what's it, octave in his voice?
Octave. Yeah.
He could drop it one and we shit our pants.
Yeah.
Um, and there was no like you just did not cross that line.
Yeah.
Now here's the difference because dad was never home then.
Right.
That separation of when you're not around as
Yeah.
much, it's
Yeah.
easier to have that power play in you.
Yeah.
Now your kids see you all the time.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge I think that parents have today that we didn't have then is that both parents are so active that neither parent can pull that.
Yeah.
And it's hard because both, that makes it tougher.
It does.
But it's a good thing though.
Yeah.
It's good because dads are more involved.
Right.
And I don't know if society is totally caught up to it. For instance, like, the comment earlier where it's like, hey, you're the dad who's here. Well, it's like, this is the way it's going to be.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
Right.
the way it should be.
Right. I mean, you have more flexibility in your life,
Yeah,
right? So it's fine.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it should be that way.
It should be that way. So, all right. That's those questions. So I know you have aspirations to maybe do some politics in Bucks County, but this is where it's all going to go south.
Yeah, I expected that this was where my campaign would end. It hasn't yet, though. I haven't gotten into anything
No, no,
that,
no. It's been good so far,
yeah. But
but
if I get into like my vasectomy or something, that's where we could go off the rails, right?
it could be.
Okay.
I think we're going to get into that.
All right,
But,
maybe we'll see. Hey, who knows? All right,
so
but
I have some questions for you.
are we doing the questions?
No,
All
no,
right.
I mean we're not at the 20 questions
Oh,
yet.
some questions go.
But I have I need a drunk or high
Oh, dude, I
story.
have a good one.
All right.
I have a good one. So in college, I didn't touch pot too much,
Mm,
but when I did,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
it was good.
Mm.
So I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, nah, I don't smoke pot. And then all of a sudden they were like, come on, dude, just, like, I might not, you don't have to get like blazing high or anything. And then I tried. I was like, God damn, not bad. So one time I smoked a lot of pot. I smoked a lot at the fraternity house, but at this time I was living off campus, right?
Uh-huh.
And off campus for me was about a half a mile walk for me to get. So I'm smoking all this pot. And dude, I got paranoid
Yeah.
real bad.
Yeah.
So I start heading back to the house. And I start looking around. Next thing I know, I'm sprinting for no reason. I'm in full sprint back to my house, right?
Yeah.
Then I get there and everyone's sitting on the patio. They're hanging out. They're all chill. I'm like freaking out. And then um, at that same time that I arrive, a car pulls into the driveway and I start heading towards, so at the end of our patio is like a hill that's a straight downward slope and trees. It would not have been good.
Yeah.
I start to run towards I start to run like I'm going to jump down that hill
Yeah.
because I think the police just pulled into the driveway. And someone's like, dude, what are you doing? That's nutty. He lives with us. And I stop before I leap to my doom. And that's when I was like, that was definitely a rough one. I also threw up in the car of a girl who had a car for like 2 days
Mhm.
when I was really drunk once.
Mhm. Do you remember about the time we were out at your bachelor party?
Great question. I do.
You do.
Dude, that was a fun night.
We had a great time.
You started it, so it starts with you put this whole day together, which kudos to you. You did a really nice job.
Thank you.
You put it together where we went to the racetrack. No, we went and played wiffle ball at like 10 a.m.
Yep.
Then we went to the racetrack.
Yep.
I think Junior even had burgers going at the racetrack on like a little side
Yeah,
grill. It
we
was
did.
awesome.
Yeah, then we went to dinner.
Then we went to dinner, which was like amazing. And then we went to a club on Delaware Ave.
Yeah.
That was, what was the name of that club? It was Mike.
I forget the name of
All
it
right, it
now.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Where we had like a cabana.
Yeah, we had a cabana. It was like a
Dude, we had so much fun. Um, there was a moment that night where I disappeared
yeah.
for like 30 to 45 minutes. No one could find me.
Yep.
What it turns out is that I went into the restroom to
Mm-hmm.
take a leak
Mm-hmm.
and I just sat there at the urinal. And I'm sitting there at the urinal and I'm just saying what's up to everybody who comes in to take a piss. Okay.
Was your dick out the whole time?
I don't know about that part.
Uh,
Maybe.
I hope so.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I'm just sitting there and everyone who came in, I was like, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Then apparently what I found out later was you guys couldn't find me.
Yeah.
And Tim finally came into the restroom and found me.
Your brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law Tim comes in and he goes, "Yo, John, where you been, man?" And the guy who was in the restroom that hands out the towels and the soap and shit and goes, "Oh, he's with you? Motherfucker's been here saying hi to everyone who walks in." 30, 30 to 45 minutes of me saying what's up to people as I'm just standing at a urinal.
Then we all leave. Then we all leave, and it's
All right.
2:30 in the morning.
It's 2:30 in the morning. I'm hammered, right? I remember. All right, forget that. So I remember. Yeah, there's certain things we're gonna forget. Yeah, nothing bad happened, but
Yeah.
all right. So in any event, everyone leaves. Tim has the unfortunate responsibility of getting me home safely and in my car. He takes me out. We get in the car, and I sit in the passenger seat, and he goes, "All right, dude, we're gonna go home." And I was like, we're not going home, dude. We're going to the strip club. What are you fucking? This is my bachelor party, Tim. Everyone's going to the strip club.
By the way,
We're
strip club was closed. But
of course. It was 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And he goes, "No, John, we're going home, man." Like, and I was like, you know what, Tim? Fuck you. Take me to my car. I'll drive myself to the strip club. And he goes, "Would you look around? We're in your car. We're in your car."
So then,
And then I look around. I go,
so yeah, he goes fuck, and I hear this whole conversation because John called me looking to find out
where everybody
where
was.
everybody was, and then forgot that he called me, and then he says fuck. And then he gets on the phone with me. He's like, Dave, where's everybody at? We're going to the strip club. Where's everybody at? I said, John, everybody's going home. He said, fuck you.
It's great. And then we finally he takes me back to their house.
Yeah.
And I walk in. I don't know why my sister was even still awake. She goes, "Hey, how was everything?" And I was like, "Fucking ask him." As I went upstairs, as if it wasn't good.
You're right.
Because it was 3:00 in the morning.
Had a miserable time.
Yeah.
All right. How about a pee, puke, or fart story?
One time, as I was living off campus at college, I went in the morning because it was a rough night, and I went in to throw up in the bathroom. And in the middle of that happening, it gets all lodged up in my throat. Nothing would come out. I'm choking on my own vomit. And I'm like, I can't get it to come out. And now I went from like having a rough morning to thinking I might die in like seconds. So somehow I just go, okay, my brain's still working. I'm going to walk over and knock on my friend's door and see if he can maybe help me. He doesn't answer. And I'm like, now we're like 5 or 10 seconds into this. And I'm like, oh shit, I just hope I don't pass out here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, because there's a railing there, I'm thinking of doing that whole like jumping on the railing with my stomach kind of thing, and giving myself a Heimlich.
Yeah.
And then eventually I felt some movement.
Yeah.
And I ran back in and took care of it. But I thought for a minute there I was going to die from choking on my own vomit, which would have been a bad way to go.
Yeah, that'd been awful.
Oh God, that's what you get remembered by.
Yeah, no, nobody's right.
Nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
You died choking on your own vomit. That's it.
Dude was so drunk he fucking choked on his own vomit.
Imagine, because people would be like, "Oh, what kind of irresponsible asshole was that?" Like that's it. Like as if your life never mattered. You just choked on your own.
It's
vomit.
like David Carradine.
Who?
David Carradine. You remember he was in like kung fu movies.
Nope.
All right. Well, he died, but he was like.
Don't forget, I'm like many years younger than you.
Yeah, two. Yeah. But or really one. But
how old are you?
I'm 47.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought 48.
Fuck you, At
least.
All right, tell me about a time you shit yourself, please. Thank you.
All right. Let me tell you a good one that happened. Let's not say recently.
Okay, like the other day. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I go into the bathroom. Everyone else is gone. I think the kids are at school. My wife's at work. Working from home. I have some liberties, and I went in, and I think I just like farted really loud, right? And I thought that was it. I thought I was fine.
Right.
All right. Fast forward to later that night. Hours and hours go by, and Melissa goes to use the bathroom, and she's like, "I just saw a little piece of shit on the floor of our bathroom," and I'm like, I'm replaying in my mind. I'm like, "Oh man, that could have been a fumble." Right?
You hanging shit on your floor?
A little tiny, wasn't a lot, but I definitely fired a projectile. And she's like, "How could that even happen?" And I go, "Fucking kids." That's the only reply I had. The only thing I get are those fucking kids. However, I was hoping maybe she could connect the dots there because I had nothing else. I was like, I knew exactly what had happened. I was like, I can't believe I ended up with a.
Did she believe it was the kids?
She never said anything otherwise.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast.
She doesn't even know we're doing the podcast right now. She thinks we're at dinner right now, so edit that out. Oh wait. That's it. That's probably my best shit story. I don't have that many. I mean,
No,
I took I when I was in high school, I probably shit myself and I hid the underwear in the closet. I think every kid's done that, right?
no, you throw the underwear out, John. That's what normal people do.
No, I hid it in the closet until someone found it. And I think my mom found it and she was just like, "What the
And
fuck?"
then she threw it the fuck out.
Yeah, like a normal human being would. Yeah, no, and this I
Oh, God.
annihilated that pair.
All right, tell me about a time you got caught having sex or caught somebody else having sex.
Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. I wasn't quite caught. So back in high school, I was dating a girl for 3 years. We were pretty serious.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years in high school.
Yeah, it's forever.
Yeah, God. And we'd hang out all the time. We went out to a golf course,
Mm-hmm.
and I probably three putt it. So, so any event, it's done. It's over. We had sex on a golf course, okay,
Yeah.
and we thought it was the greatest thing ever. About 2 days later, she comes over my house, and she's wearing, shorts, and her legs have about a gazillion mosquito bites. And I say to her, I was like, "Hey, your legs got bit up pretty bad. What happened?" This is in front of my family.
Yeah. What'd she say?
She said, "I don't know. I guess I guess I just got bit up real bad." I was like, "What do you mean you don't know? Look, you have like 1,000 bites in your legs. How don't you know where that happened?" And she was just like, "I said I don't know." Now, she could have flipped that on me real
Yeah,
fast.
real bad.
Yeah, but she didn't, thankfully. But yeah,
Then when you guys got away, did she say you're an asshole?
she said that so many times. There was a thing that my sense of humor was such that people called it Slinka humor.
Hmm.
Okay. Slinka humor basically meant that one person in the room thought you were the biggest asshole they've ever met. Everybody else was probably laughing
Right.
at because you were just annihilating someone. So that's um yeah. So if someone's like, "Man, that guy's an asshole," half the time I'm just making a joke and they didn't like it.
All right. Here's my 20 questions. You ready for them?
I thought we were at question 5 already.
No, 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 no.
Oh, now we have 20
Those
questions?
are important. Those are the important questions that I ask everyone.
Oh,
You
okay.
need to tell at least a few embarrassing stories.
Okay.
All
I
right.
think
Now,
I covered that.
yeah. All right. Now,
Could
20.
you address me as commissioner? Go on the next one.
Commissioner.
Yeah, next one because I'm not a commissioner
Oh,
yet, but down
oh,
the road.
is this Bucks County thing you're doing?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Who
probably,
knows?
probably not after sex on the fucking golf course.
I was like 15.
And the girl was how old, John?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Uh huh. 15.
She was 15.
Damn it.
Yeah.
All right. All right. It's the Angry Day podcast. What makes you angry?
If you leave a cabinet ajar. What?
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Dude, close the door.
Oh, yeah.
Close the fucking cabinet.
It's important stuff.
You got the cup out.
Uh-huh.
You put the cup on the counter. Why is the cabinet still open?
Oh, good. Little things.
What the fuck? Got the cup.
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? What makes me happy? Take your drink. The ending of No Country for Old Men. That's
Oh, that's a callback right there. But
whoa, man! Did you see that? I was waiting for you to get full. I was waiting for that drink to go down before I could. Excellent endings to movies, Dave.
oh, yeah. Is that what makes you happy?
A great movie makes me happy. A great series, like I love a great book. Like
Yeah.
seeing things at their best.
Yeah.
So when I catch a show, which by the way, I don't think you've watched it yet, but Succession.
I have watched this.
Oh, you're in on it now?
Yeah, it's
You
good.
caught up?
I caught up. Yeah.
It's good?
No, it's great. Yeah, yeah. It's a good show.
Because good was you undersold it there. It's a really good show.
Yeah, it's a really good show. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
So seeing something done at that level makes me really happy. I should probably say like my family.
That's all right. Well, I'll give you a chance.
All right, my family
No, 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 no. Not now.
clearly makes me happy, Dave.
A good book or your
Good
family.
book or like the health and welfare of my
All
family.
right. How about number 3? What makes you proud? What are you most proud of?
I'm proud that I was lucky enough to marry somebody whose family is as close to her as my family is to me.
Yeah.
And when we have social gatherings, that we're able to get everyone together and have like a really, really good time.
Yeah. Nice.
Um, feel like very lucky. I don't know if it was all luck, but I feel lucky that I'm surrounded by people who are just good people.
What one thing you would change about the world or in the world?
I feel like in the world, I don't know if it's always been, but it certainly feels like now, um, there's a lack of empathy
Yep.
that for some reason we've gotten to a point where we can't empathize with those people who don't have it as well as us. We we become a very cynical society.
Yeah. What's one thing that you would change about your life or you?
Maybe I could knock that chip off my shoulder.
Yeah. What's the strangest place you ever had sex?
The back of a girlfriend's mom's car was only because her mom had to give me a ride home later that night.
That's creepy. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
weird, man. It was weird. So excuse me, we had sex. And then I don't know, an hour later, her mom's just up in the front seat, beep, 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 driving us home. And I'm like, no one else
Smells what
I'm
I
like,
smell.
I'm like, I'm like, I'm like, is this not awkward for anybody else?
What's the most unreasonable thing about you?
The most.
Yeah.
What's
You're
the most? Okay, let's go unreasonable. All right.
you sometimes play things in your head that don't exist.
I did that a couple times. I certainly, there's always an interior monologue going on in my head, shit that's happening. And I'm like, um, so sometimes someone slight at me and that never happened.
So, sometimes everybody's out drinking beer and
Oh man, what a good one. Yeah. Damn, that was a fun time. And I swore you guys were all the thing is about that night. Let me go back. So I thought I was with a girl at the point at that time. I was living in Port Richmond. Things were good. And we were driving around. I was like, everyone's out drinking right now, and we need to find out where they are. And she goes, okay. I mean, let's just go out then. I was like, yeah, let's just call around. And I called,
nobody
nobody
answered.
answered. I called you, I called Steve, I called everyone. Nobody answered. And I was so mad. I was like, I know they're out. And I pictured it like the Stonecutter episode of The Simpsons where everyone's singing songs. I was like, I picture them at a table, they're singing. They have their mugs swaying back and forth and they're like smashing their mugs up in the air and then drinking and having this grand old time. And I was like, look, nobody answered, but I'm pretty sure if we just drive around, we'll find them. And did you eventually call me back? And I was like, Dave, where is everybody? And you're
Yeah,
like, John,
I'm sleeping.
nobody's out, dude. And I was like, come on, this is awful. So, yeah, sometimes maybe a perceived slight that never happened.
How about your best quality? What do you think?
I think deep down, and you might have to go down a few layers, but I think deep down, I'm a pretty empathetic, compassionate person, and that I like to, I like to give back. I like to support. I like to be around and help anyone I can possibly help. I think I try.
Yeah.
Um, I try to put out, I try to put out a good thing in the world and hope that at the end of the day that that's what I'll be, like remembered by.
What is your everyday struggle?
Sometimes just finding the good out there.
Yeah.
Um, it's easy to see so much negative that goes on in this world, and it's easy to let that drag you down.
Do you have a tattoo or scar that tells a story?
I do. All right, I have a scar. I'm going to tell you about this.
Yeah.
This will probably answer one of your earlier questions, by the way.
Go ahead.
I'm playing baseball.
Hmm.
I'm like 8. I'm like 8 years old. I'm young. I'm in the backyard of my friend's house. Me and this kid named Donald. And we're playing, we hit the ball, we run the bases, it was just fun. It was just the two of us. Well, I smoke a ball, I run, I slide in the second base. and there must have been a twig or a branch, like it went into my leg, and I still have the scar. Like there's three big scars on my knee because it went in deep, and I'm bleeding like a maniac, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's three giant holes in my leg, and my friend comes over and asks if I'm okay, picks me up, puts me under his, puts my arm around him and walks me to his house. Had like a two, it was like the side, and he had a back door and a front door kind of thing. And he knocks on the back door, he's screaming for his mom, and and his mom comes to the back door, and he goes, "Mom, Jay needs help. He really hurt himself," and my leg's just a bloody mess. And that lady looks at me and looks at him and says, "Well, what do you want me to do? I'm not his mom."
Are you serious?
Yeah, she made Donald carry me to my house to get my mom so that we could go to the hospital and get stitches.
Wow.
Peggy.
Fuck you, Peg. Number 12. If you could have been like something else, like another profession, what would it have been?
Teacher. I mean, that's what I was going to be.
Yeah.
I I would have been good at it. I would have related well to kids, and I mean, honestly, by my age now, I would have been worn out by it.
Yeah, probably.
I
Right.
mean, like anybody my age who's still teaching, I think they're a tough lot because it's a tough job.
Yeah. Type
So that's probably what I'd be.
type of music that you hate.
I guess rap, I guess, like the or that really hard metal shit,
Yeah.
you know?
Or do you love, is there any type of music that you love?
I do.
What do you love?
Towns Van Zandt.
Okay.
It's like a
Yeah.
folksy kind of music. Not many people have ever heard of them,
Hmm.
but back in college, the Counting Crows used to do a show. They would just show up at a bar. And this is back when they were like legit
Right.
selling out 15,000, 20,000 arenas, and they
Yeah.
would show up to a bar that holds like 200 people
Yeah.
and do a show.
Yeah.
So I listened to some of this. I don't know. I found it on the internet, and it was called the Flim Flam thing, and then Flim Flam show or something. And he played a song, and I was like, that might be the greatest song I ever heard in my life. And it turns out it was a cover of a Towns Van Zandt song called
Okay.
"For the Love of the Song." Yeah, "For the Love of the Song," I think it's called. Fantastic. He's known for a song called "Poncho and Lefty" that Willie Nelson covered.
Yeah.
That's where he got his claim to fame.
Oh, Willie Nelson covered it.
Willie
So
Nelson
I
covered
know
it.
that song through Willie Nelson. I didn't know it was
Yeah. Bob Dylan wanted to work with him, but he said he didn't want to work with Bob Dylan because he didn't like the Dylan persona.
really.
Hmm. This guy was a legit dude. I mean, he died at like 40 years old because he lived hard
Yeah.
uh, and died very young, but his music is amazing. Elvis Costello is another one.
That covered him.
No, Elvis Costello is just
Oh.
another
Oh,
musician that I
you're right.
really liked.
What annoys you about others?
The social media influence of people's lives and what they put out there and how they want everyone to think they have it so perfect, and um everyone wants to be perceived as having a perfect life, and it's like, how about we just like dial that down a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
On the other side of it, I hate people that put nothing but negative shit out there too,
Right.
like I have a friend who just posts negative bullshit all the time, and I'm like, are you the crazy old person now? Because that's what you.
Yeah.
So there's a balance there.
Yeah. They send out rhetorical questions like, like, oh, could this day be any worse? I don't. Shut up.
Yeah, probably could be.
Yeah, right. Right. Right.
I think it could be.
Yeah. It always can be worse.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. How about what quality do you admire most about other people?
a sense of humor.
Yeah.
You win me over with a just having a really good sense of humor, and I mean, if you can take a joke from me, that's great. If you can make me laugh, that's even better.
Yeah.
And if you realize that at the end of the day, there's there's nothing in this world that will offend me as long as it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
There's no line you can cross
Yeah.
if it's funny.
Right.
And we lost that.
Oh, listen,
We lost that, man. That's not even a.
you and I have said this many times, but we have a ongoing text chain
Mm-hmm.
between you, me, and one other person. And I won't say his name just because he might not want to be out there. But
Because you're a pussy. Good.
but if that ever got out,
Oh, our lives ruined.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most irreverent, insensitive, but it's fucking hysterical.
I'll say the most god awful thing to you.
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
said the most god awful thing.
I
You've
mean,
said some pretty bad stuff to me too,
I
like
mean, I
when you
actually
wished my plane
would crash
crashed.
as you were going to Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
well,
made me roll my window down at a stoplight.
it's
And I didn't even know you that well yet, by the way.
is that
This was
right?
year 1
No.
or 2, maybe.
Yeah, probably. All right.
But it's because you were taking a lot of called strikes then. And I held up a coaster and I said, "What's this?" And everyone's like, "What?" I'm like, "Dave's strike zone with 2 strikes." And we're leaving. I'm all happy. I'm like, "Hey, I'm going home. This is gonna be great." And you stop at the stoplight and you give me the old roll down symbol, and I do, and he goes, "Hey, I hope your fucking plane crashes."
And I drove off.
And yeah, I was just stuck there, and you just drove away. I hope your plane crashes. I'm like, you asshole. Comedy. I don't know how people are doing comedy right now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's turning the corner though, and I think Dave Chappelle made it turn the corner because they're not going to cancel him. They're not. They can't. He's uncancelable, and he stood up, and I think we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get back to normal. I mean, listen, we went through a really strange time in on the earth.
I mean, if you really think about it, and historically speaking, when people look back on what we went through, it's going to be something that is like you lived through the Spanish flu, you lived through like one of the world's greatest disasters.
Yeah,
Like,
and we shut the world down.
think about how crazy that is.
The first time in human history where you did not have anything wrong with you and you could not move.
Hmm.
And we literally shut the world down. So, I mean, it is going to be a study in society because society got stunted for a couple of years. I do think we're coming out of it
Oh,
slowly.
I think we've come out of it to some extent.
Yeah, but I still think the emotional turmoil, like
The kids are
well,
behind.
kids are 100% behind, but I think we all are too. I
Hmm.
think a lot of this like societal weirdness that has gone on and that the ultra woke movement and then the ultra conservative movement on the other side.
Hmm.
It,
There's no good for either of those. I think
yeah,
they both lead to very bad places.
yeah,
Um,
the same people, they're the
they're
same
the
people.
same, and it's sad because it's like, um, I hate that, like, because I kind of consider myself liberal, right?
Right,
But what someone else might think of as that isn't me.
right. No, yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I mean, I'm probably not.
I mean
It's,
a 40 something year old liberal is not liberal anymore. I mean, we're almost right of center in some
no,
ways.
you're right, and that's what's crazy, right? Is that
I mean, and
because I can't get on board with everything, and I can't, you
right,
know?
but I don't. I literally give no fucks about what you do in your house. I don't care.
Nor should you.
No, right,
It's insane to
but that
me.
yeah, but that doesn't mean I think you should mutilate your children. But
Hmm.
I mean that's all. I mean, if your children want to mutilate themselves when they're 18,
Hey, go for it,
go for it.
and I'll support you.
Me too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go down that fucking rabbit hole. But
Sorry.
no, it's all right. If you were arrested, what would your friends and family think?
I think they'd be shocked.
Right, but what do you think that?
Oh, would they be think that I was arrested for?
Yeah.
Public indecency? No. No.
Pulling his dick out again.
Whoop.
Yep.
You know what?
Fucking good old
I'll tell you
John.
what. When he left the house wearing nothing but a trench coat, I thought this could go in a very bad direction. Um, I didn't think he had the balls to do it.
Well, he certainly did. Angles. All right, last three questions. If you were a woman for a day, what would you do?
A woman for a day?
Yeah, one day.
What would I do? I don't know. What would I do if I don't know.
You tell me. That's what I'm asking
I don't
you.
know what would I do? I'd just be a woman that day, I guess. I don't know what I'd do. What would I do?
I don't know. I would play with myself. That's what I would do.
That's is that I mean that's the only answer, right?
I think
You know what I would do?
other people say they would try to get free stuff.
You know what? If I was a woman for a day, I'd probably take like 15 showers. I'd be like, damn. I mean, all right? Here's a good question. Am I a good looking woman,
Yeah, you're
or am
good.
I a real like? What if I'm just a disgusting,
Like you are now.
this could go either way. Like, no.
No, yeah, you're beautiful. You're a
All right.
beautiful woman.
Tell me more about myself.
You
No,
know.
no, no. This is gonna be weird.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm a woman for a day. What would I do? Shit. All right, not run for president. That didn't work out.
Just got to be less cunty.
Jesus, man. You can't say that. Don't you know? Don't you know?
My bad, my bad,
You can't say that.
my bad.
You,
Hillary wasn't cunty. You're right.
no, no. And don't use the B word either. That's also not good.
I heard that.
Yeah.
A girl told me not to call her a bitch once. I called her a bitch 5 straight more
Oh,
times.
can I tell you? Like, I feel like there's some stories out there I haven't told yet.
We can come back another time.
No, no. I want to tell one. I want to tell one. Do
All
we
right,
have
go.
time? Fuck Jacob. A stupid job. He'll get picked up when he gets picked up. All right, listen. Let me tell the story real quick.
Go for it.
All right, because this is a good one. All right, so in college, I was in a dorm. You texted them to let them know you're going to be late.
Yeah.
You're a good dad. That's nice of you to do that. I know you want to wrap this up. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm in college, and this
Yeah.
girl is being a complete cunt to me.
Yeah.
She is being like, there's only about 7 of us in a dorm room hanging out. So when someone's like completely annihilating me, I was the focus point of her like disdain.
Yeah.
And she was just like, she goes, nobody even likes you. Like, why don't you just fucking leave?
Oh, Jesus.
And I go, yeah, maybe I'll do that, but I kind of live here, so maybe I won't. I don't know. So in any event, she leaves to use the restroom, right?
Yeah.
She comes back, and I was like, oh, I have to go too. And I go to use the restroom, and I come back, and I go, hey, can you do me a favor? I was like, it's not a big deal, but next time, can you flush the toilet? Right?
Yeah.
And she goes, now she's mortified. She goes, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I flushed the toilet. I'm like, look, I'm not saying you didn't, but there was a log in there that was like this big. And I'm putting my arm in, I'm like, it was huge. So I don't know if you tried a couple times and it swirled around, you couldn't quite get it to go down, but next time, like maybe make sure you flush. Because it's kind of rude. You put me in a bad spot.
That's amazing.
Now meanwhile, dude, that never happened.
That's amazing.
I mean, I had to check her.
Fuck her.
That girl for trying to make me feel bad.
All right, last 2 questions, and I go pick up my son. When you die, if there God exists and you're at the pearly gates, what do you want God to say to you?
Hey, bud. Hey, man, how you been? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Did you ever answer any of my prayers? You jack off? You didn't, did you? You just kind of left me out there, didn't you? The fuck, dude? Like, did I exist? Is my question.
Right.
Never fucking answered any of my prayers. Did I exist to you? That's what I'm asking you. Fuck it if you. Nah.
You're going for it, huh? Fuck it.
Shit. All right. Well,
you ain't going for it. You just be like, hey, buddy.
No, good God. No. First of all, I think part of the. I don't want to get all. I know you have to pick up your son, but let's be honest here, right?
Yeah. Chances are.
Look, I'm just saying, like,
chances are. Yeah.
Look, what I'm saying is too many people put that stock in that.
Yeah. Right.
And Bitcoin collapsed.
Right.
So perhaps may your
fantasies about the afterlife.
Look, dude, here's what I really believe. God's honest truth. You're here for a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah.
All right. At the end of the day, the world is 13.8 billion years old, right?
Yeah.
Humanity is like 300 million years old. We are a tiny little blip.
Yeah.
Put out something good for that tiny bit of time that we have here.
Yeah.
To be like, why would you have to be a good person so that fucking God can put you in heaven? That's a weird thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That you're literally just waiting for something that you're not sure that exists.
It's weird.
Yeah.
How about this exists? You know that we have never been able to find like life, right? Even though I tend to believe it's out there.
Right.
Billions, light years away, we'll never find it. But you happen to be so lucky that you're here.
Right.
And you're looking forward to this other thing.
Yeah.
How about you just won the fucking lottery, dude?
Right.
Unless you're born in like the third world or something, then you're not doing so great.
Yeah. But we have won the lottery.
We, motherfucker, have won the lottery. I mean,
to
think about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
How lucky are we?
yeah. You're at this time in human history in this place.
Dude,
Yeah,
I have an iPhone.
iPhones are stupid.
I know.
No,
All right, go ahead
all
with your
right.
flip phone self. Go.
Yeah,
Is that what you texted Jacob on your flip
my
phone?
flip phone. No,
Fucking asshole.
I
Go
have
ahead.
an Android. They're a better phone. It's for adults.
It was a monologue at the end of a movie, asshole. So why do you have such an issue with No Country for Old
Oh
Men?
Jesus Christ!
I'm trying.
The last one.
All right, go ahead.
What do you want to be remembered for when it's all said and done?
Enormous. No.
Oh, my big ass cock.
You gotta take that out, dude. I'm running for commissioner,
Cock.
man. Take it out.
Cock.
Jacob better edit this out.
Cock.
What do I want to be remembered for? All right. I would like to be remembered for being the funniest person anybody has ever met. Because I think in truth, there's some truth to that.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Anything else?
most people that run into me are probably like, you know what?
Guy's the funniest dude I ever met.
You know what? I never met Dave Chappelle, so I never met Louis C.K. Except that time he was like, yanking it in
Fondling
front
me.
of me.
Fondle himself in front of.
I never met,
Yeah.
me and Paul Poundstone. I want to be known.
Paul Poundstone, huh?
Yeah. I mean, she,
Paul Poundstone you pulled out, huh? Jesus Christ.
she never had to. No, but
She never had to. That was good.
all right.
What did you answer the goddamn question?
All right, what do I want to be? I want to be, I don't know, like what do I want to be remembered by?
Yeah.
4.
4.
All right. I want my kids to remember me for being a good dad. I want my wife to remember me for being a good husband. I just want people to remember me for being like the best that I could be, just like the army.
All right. I think we're done for now, buddy.
I was trying to make you angry though. I was trying to elicit a little angry
No,
Dave.
you can't do that. But until next time, we're out. Peace.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Peace.